From the TFNB Your Bank for Life studio, this is 365 Sports. Presented by IdealMRI.com. Premium quality MRIs, convenient, affordable. That's ideal. And by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance. We are Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, your insurance provider built by Texans for Texans. And we've been protecting families in our great state since 1952. TFNB, your bank for life, serving Central Texans since 1889. Now it's time for 365 Sports.
Weather, it was raining at the time, and the guys that I play with are mostly retired, so they can wait all day. So I said, I'm just going to chill out for a little bit. And the next thing you know, I start to see what became Brett Yormark and Cody Campbell, and a little bit of a outside of a corral in Tombstone with Let's Go. It's an interesting day, no doubt about it. Paul Catalina and Craig Smoak. I'm David Smoak. And guys, let's get straight to it. This is the story by Don Williams. He's going to join us in a few minutes for a little bit of clarification. But this is the story from Don Williams. Brett Yormark, in a concern that Cody Campbell has about Houston and Tech playing on a Friday night. He's voiced this before. Yormark eventually, bottom line, just basically says that Cody Campbell does not run the Big 12 after complaints about the schedule.
Well, Cody Campbell is none of the commissioners are fans of Cody Campbell. I mean, he's released an ad straight up taking them all on last year and then had to tweak it slightly so that it could maybe get the message across a little bit better, and that the stations that he bought the time on would air it because the commissioners were coming at them. So this is not a surprise to see this. When you asked Brett Yormark about Cody Campbell at Big 12 Media Days last year after we had Cody Campbell on, and then we had Brett's remark was like, yeah, he's valuable voice because he has a lot of money and he supports Texas Tech, but I don't think that he agrees with Cody on much of any of this.
Yeah, very interesting little brouhaha going on here, and where it goes from here beyond this point, I'm really interested to see, because on the one hand, you get some of the opinions of Texas Tech is better off without the Big 12, and I know that's like a handful of people on Twitter. You've also got the number of people, which I think is actually a pretty large group, who maybe have soured on Brett Yormark or don't believe he's necessarily the right leader for the conference. I think those two sides are maybe having a little bit of a clear line drawn between them. I think, like, to get more into the details of this thing, I mean, Cody Campbell came out with a tweet a few days ago, and it was out of nowhere to try and help people who haven't been following along with this very vague story that you're sort of like, where did this come from? Cody Campbell came out with a tweet just out of nowhere the other day, and he was commenting on or complaining about Houston and Texas Tech being moved to a Friday night and saying that Friday nights belong to high school football, and called out Brett Yormark by name and basically said shame on him. And it was completely out of nowhere. I remember coming across it at the time, and I thought, what did I miss? Like, what did I not see? And then I go and look at the schedules, and Texas Tech Houston's scheduled for a Saturday. So all I could think was, well, he got insider information that game's probably being moved, but none of us were privy to that information. So you're just popping off on social media, calling out the commissioner about something that nobody else even knows about just yet. So that was there, and all it was. And a bunch of people, like, oddly enough, if you go back and look at that tweet, like, all these people are like, yeah, Cody, tell him. And it's like, did we even know what was going on yet? I guess other than the idea that I guess this game's being moved, so everybody's reacting to that. But it was just out of nowhere, like I said. So I thought that was bizarre. And then sure enough, here a couple of days later, you got Don Williams gets Brett Yormark to comment on Cody Campbell. and his calling out of the Big 12 for their Friday night scheduling and the conflict with high school football. And Brett Yormark proceeds to say that Cody Campbell does not run the Big 12.
There you go. There's the image, right?
There is the quote. Cody Campbell does not run the Big 12 via Commissioner Brett Yormark. And so he fires back. And you know what? I don't blame him, because he got called out first and got called out over something that wasn't even public yet. And so Cody Campbell responds in kind. And I got to tell you guys, I think his response is absolutely bizarre.
Yeah, but before you do that, read that one there, Craig, because that's part of the Yormark. Read the whole quote from him on that.
I can't read that. It's too far away.
Cody Campbell does not run the Big 12. Our board and our ADs approve playing 12 games a year off of Saturdays in an effort to raise the profile, narrative, viewership of the Big 12 in football. Texas Tech hosting a primetime game on Friday night delivers that.
Okay, so there's Brett Yormark. And when we talked about conference realignment and the ability to get a better deal and to sneak in front of the Pac-12 and do what they did that was necessary to be in the position they are now, one of the things that you knew they were going to have to do is go play on Friday nights and maybe some Thursday nights. That was well known. And there's been teams, Houston, who have been playing multiple Friday night games. And so that's just part of the TV deal. That is what you all agreed to sign, right? So then Cody Campbell pops off. Brett Yormark responds in kind, and he I think responded pretty firmly as far as the Cody Campbell does not run the Big 12 thing. But then that wasn't where it ended, and Cody Campbell obviously had comments that I guess came from Don Williams as well.
Here it is.
Where he went on to say, to paraphrase it a bit, that Brett Yormark also doesn't run the conference, that the school presidents, commissioners, what have you, have say, and that he felt like Brett Yormark and company were not doing their best to protect Texas Tech. And part of the reason as to why is because they play with the road game the week before, and then they would turn around and have a short week and have to play on a Friday night. So not only are you traveling, but then you're turning around and having a short week. And given that they are the conference champions and the team that was most recently in the playoff, they feel like that's asking them to do a bit more than they should. And it's not just any road trip. It's going all the way to Corvallis, Oregon. So you're going all the way on the other side of the country and then turning around and you're playing on 1 day less rest. So I can understand where that's a complaint. So that was part of what Cody Campbell had to say. But, yeah, he took a shot right back at Yormark. And then there was the piece de resistance where he grabs the article from Don Williams and then above it quotes it on Twitter and says, apparently Brett didn't get the memo. All capitals, everything runs through Lubbock. Maybe we should bring the tortillas back. Question mark, which obviously got everybody into a much bigger tizzy. And that's sort of where I last saw we've left off.
Yeah, that was it. I think that was where it ended, as far as then everything after that is everyone reacting to it, like us right now.
But that was all unfolding here over the last couple of days. I thought it bizarre when the first tweet came out because, again, none of us knew that they were moving the schedule around. And then it was interesting to hear Brett Yormark comment the way that he did. And then for Cody Campbell to respond the way that he did. So, I guess, what do you guys think?
Dave Wilson, in a follow-up from ESPN, from Cody Campbell on Brett Yormark, as commissioner, he needs to remember he works for the presidents and the presidents work for the boards. He is not the dictator of the conference. That's not his role. It is his responsibility to advocate for his members in all cases.
Okay, so that wasn't towards Don Williams. That was actually towards Dave Wilson. And he's right.
That was to Dave Wilson that was to Dave Wilson.
What I just said, that was to Dave Wilson. So he's right. I mean, technically he's right, and he's a board member, so I can see where he wants to straighten that out, seeing as how he does have some say. But boy, oh boy, I do not want to get chirped at or side-eyed when I bring up Cody Campbell maybe has Texas Tech first and foremost in his mind and not necessarily the greater good of the Big 12. When I have brought that up, there has been chirping, there's been side-eyeing, and I've felt it and I've known it. And so today I feel very validated because it's clear that, as you would expect, a board member for Texas Tech and a prominent booster would have them first and foremost in mind and not necessarily the conference as a whole. But the behavior here is just, man, I never thought it would get taken to this level. Now, I'm not saying that as like Cody Campbell's a bad guy. I'm just saying this idea that he's like the savior of the conference and he's pulling all of the boats and he's pulling up everybody together. I never believed that. And this just validates that because this isn't a beef about everybody else having to play games. Otherwise, you would mention that Houston's played multiple games. This is about that Texas Tech doesn't like it. Now, do I understand where he's coming from? Absolutely. So I'm not saying that's wrong or right. I'm just saying when I bring that up again, that I don't exactly think he's worried about Iowa State the same way that he is about Texas Tech. I think that was just common sense. But there was this sort of almost like, ooh, don't say that because it's all kumbaya and everybody's trying to work for the Big 12. But no, it's college sports. Everybody's first and foremost worried about themselves. And so he's worried about Texas Tech having a pinch in their schedule that could be not so fun. And also, would have them playing on a Friday night. And as a father of a big-time recruit, as Cody Campbell is, I'm sure it rubs him the wrong way that he can't go watch his 4 or 5-star son play on a Friday night. And he's also, I do think, fairly sticking up for the Texas high school football fans out there and the coaches like his head coach there in Lubbock, who all support those guys and don't want college football to overrun Friday nights. But that's the deal that you signed up for. And so I think there's valid points on either side, but it's been very interesting to see how public this has become. And when I saw that Cody Campbell tweet about everything runs through Lubbock, maybe we should bring the tortillas back, I thought that was like a bit aggressive and kind of out of character just from what my experience around Cody Campbell's been, which is very limited, but he seems like, for as much as a billionaire can be, kind of just unassuming and modest. But I also know you can't become a billionaire by being that way all the time.
Yeah, I thought I love the guy. I do, but and I texted him to get clarification, see if he would come on, but that was a little bit much.
But I thought that was like a little bit aggressive of a response, and I would say that immediately I started to see all these Texas Tech fans who were like, let's bolt this dead-ass conference and let's move on and let's go to the SEC or the Big Ten. I'm going to tell you right now, unless the Big Ten completely breaks down the way they've always gone about realignment, Texas Tech's not joining the Big Ten. All right? So unless just something wild-ass changes, that's not in the cards. Now, the SEC is where I see a lot of people wanting them to be, and well, let's use this as an exit ramp and let's go to the SEC. I would think A&M would have a problem with that, and I think Texas would have a problem with that. A&M had a problem with Texas joining, but that's a little bit of a different story. But like I saw that sort of conversation, and my response to that is not whether that would ever be valid or not, but my response to that is, so you mean to tell me that Greg Sankey or Tony Petitti would be lining up to go bring Texas Tech in after the billionaire boosters just turned around and called out the commissioner for placing them on a game on a night they don't want to play on? That's who you're going to go bring into the roost and get along with everybody? So from that standpoint, I thought it was maybe a little bit of a miscalculation if you're looking at this from we'll just go somewhere else. So you think Greg Sankey's going to be like, yeah, Cody, come on, man. Tell me what night y'all are going to play on. Tell me how this is going to go and throw your weight around. So just really interesting stuff coming out of this ordeal today from a lot of different angles. And I can't wait to hear what the chat has to say about it. I know we got a lot of proud Tech fans. I've seen a mixed bag as far as Texas Tech reactions go and seen a lot of different opinions about where this all leads ultimately.
This doesn't mean that if you're a Tech fan, you love Cody Campbell.
No.
Doesn't mean you can't disagree with him. I mean, sometimes you may, and again, you might just be heels dug in that you're not going to because of everything he also does for the school. Paul, remember the Lost Dodge? What was the comment he made about UT?
We are the Joneses.
Yeah. So this is a joke. I didn't give it to Rez, I think, in time, but someone said this to me. This is a picture of a Texas Tech looking in the mirror, and there is Bevo. Now, I thought it was funny. I know people's feelings, you can get a little bit of, but I thought it was funny because of the fact that Texas, there was the thought that, they whatever they wanted, they were going to get. Not that they did, but they also were going to make sure that they were heard. So that was something that we saw earlier today.
It just seemed like a weird hill to die on about the television schedule, and then how dare Texas Tech be put on a Friday night, being if they were in the they were the Big 12 champions last year. But the Big 12 is, Craig's been very clear about it, very clear about where the Big 12 stands in the hierarchy of things and where Texas Tech, stands in the hierarchy of things beyond the Big 12. Not to rehash that at all. So I'm just going to say, pick your battles. Pick your battles. This is a weird one to pick.
Well, let me put it differently as far as the Cody Campbell and all right, hey, let's start throwing tortillas again. Maybe that would be a better example. Hey, Greg Sankey, Tony Petitti, we're going to come in, and when you tell us we can't do something, the moment you piss Cody Campbell off, we're going to do it anyways. is basically what the message was that was just sent about the tortillas. Is it not?
Mm-hmm.
Is that not what they just did? So for those who are like thinking this turns into like some conference jump, well, it would take a big attitude adjustment based on today. But I don't think that's necessarily in the cards. I wonder how long Brett Yormark is for this world. I mean, he's been around a long time now. It's clear there's been some things that have rubbed people the wrong way. I immediately saw a lot of Tech fans using the court as a reason for why he's a disaster of a commissioner, and the flubbing of, I guess, the new LED court in Kansas City, or maybe not flubbing, but just the way that didn't work out well. He's made some moves that I've seen more people now kind of maybe not being so sure, or maybe feeling like he's tapped out and taken them a good amount of ways, but maybe not long for this. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
so I don't think that this is necessarily, well, Cody Campbell and Tech are going to take their ball and go home.
No.
But I also don't think this necessarily means anything changes, but I do wonder if something does give, that it's not Brett Yormark as commissioner sooner rather than later.
Well, also some of the feedback from today on Yormark, because people have, they remember, was this is the guy leading the conference, remember, that wanted the glass court. I mean, that's even fresh.
What I just said.
Yeah, I know. That's that it's fresh on their mind that way, that he's not like the guy that came in and maybe saved the conference by adding the 4 teams. I agree with you.
No, he's not the bulletproof guy that people were treating like some god that made every right decision. I mean, there's a lot of things that I've not agreed with when it comes to Brett Yormark, but I have appreciated the way that he's held things together, and I appreciate some of his thinking outside of the box, and certainly some of the strategic moves that they've made. I wasn't ever on board with like football in Mexico, and I had my doubts about the LED court as far as that just being kind of a dud of a big surprise compared to people getting their hopes up about what it could be. But I do think he's done a pretty good job. I don't think he's been infallible. And yes, this has just really shown you the rift that was created last fall when the whole tortilla situation happened. It seems like that really caused a scar between him and the Texas Tech fan base, that even though they went on to win, there's now this feeling among them of though he's out to get them or he's not on their side. And then now you've got Cody Campbell only adding gasoline to it. And so there is a rift there, clearly, at least on social media. And we'll see how real that is in real life. But obviously it's somewhat real given that Cody Campbell's responding the way that he is.
Yeah, it is. And at the same time, the Big 12 was kind of a part of a lot going on today. Not that everybody, their whole day set up based on what's going on with Twitter. Kirby Hocutt, the AD at Texas Tech, when it comes to the Friday night games, he goes, it's very hot during the summer months, especially in the early fall. So playing on a Friday versus playing on a Saturday morning does have its benefits. And when you think about the tonnage of college football on the air on a Saturday, provides a lot of opportunity for us to kind of build our profile on a Friday night. That's from the AD. Don Williams of the Lubbock Avalanche Journal joins us. Craig Smoak, Paul Catalina, and David Smoak. He is the one that wrote the story with the Yormark quotes and the Cody Campbell response and much more. Don, thank you very much for your time. Were you surprised at what this day has been like, or just kind of like, wow, this has been kind of a fun day for me?
Well, and I apologize as I come on. Sure enough, it sounds like there's some lawn mowing and weed eating going on outside my front door. So I apologize if you hear that background noise.
That's okay.
No, when I went to bed last night, I kind of expected that this story would get some traction, and sure enough, it did. What I didn't expect was that Cody Campbell, who obviously knew the story was coming, I guess what I didn't expect was that the way he would react to Brett Yormark saying Cody Campbell doesn't run this conference is to return fire on Twitter at about 7:30 or 8 a.m. this morning. And so it has been a pretty lively week. And it's kind of, ramped up here in the last 12 hours, ramped up today.
Don, it's no secret that the conference commissioners aren't wild about Cody Campbell. I think that there is a part of them that was hoping that somebody with his resources would maybe be more on their team than he is. What do you think this means for that and his push towards saving college sports going forward, that there are these little incidents where a conference commissioner who we need to support that is upset with him?
I don't know exactly, but I don't think he's, I think he's pretty clearly here for the long term because he's obviously, of course, he's very invested in Texas Tech athletics, and he's and he has very strong ideas and opinions about the future of college sports, beyond Texas Tech. He's made very clear that his interest lies not just with football and say men's basketball, but with the ability, and his view is there needs to be legislation and whatnot. Congress needs to act, those sorts of things to make the future more secure for Olympic sports, non-revenue sports, those sorts of things. And so, I guess he's kind of with this move, he's kind of increasingly maybe become a little more of a maverick, and he's going to say what he's going to say, and let the chips fall. It's been observed and known here locally because Cody was not a big fan of Matt Wells, and he made no secret of that. When the football program struggled there in 2020, 2021, and he kind of maybe on a message board led a little bit of a palace revolt that precipitated Matt Wells getting fired, only 8 games into the season in 2021, which was a very unusual thing for Texas Tech because out here the coaches generally get a lot of get along leash, and Matt Wells is 5-3 and fired with a month left in the regular season. And like I say, Cody was he made no secret of the fact that he wanted Matt gone, but that was just kind of a little that was kind of in the Texas Tech bubble, a local thing. But now he's kind of now that he's gained kind of increasing traction nationally as a spokesman on college sports issues, I think he's kind of become less restrained about his willingness to speak out.
Yeah, I think that's clear, Don. I mean, I thought there was an April Fool's tweet that I saw with the everything runs through Lubbock thing. I thought that was that response was just wow, he's taking it up a couple notches here with that kind of response to your Mark.
Well, I talked to Cody, what is today, Thursday? I talked to Cody late Tuesday afternoon, and that's where most of the comments in that story came from. And because of how strong they were, I thought it was very important to get a response from the Big 12, or at least give the Big 12 an opportunity to respond. Now, I mean, that's always good journalism, period, to get both sides, but especially when one side is saying something as strongly as Cody was expressing it. So I actually waited for about 5 hours yesterday, and I got the response from the Big 12 finally around about 7 p.m. last night. And, I was like you. It's like the first sentence in Brett Yormark's statement is Cody Campbell does not run the Big 12. And I'm thinking, is this an April Fool's joke? Because this is not the kind of line that you expect to see in a conference commissioner statement. But the rest of the statement, obviously he supported his points and said that, the presidents and the board, the presidents and the athletic directors agreed to have 12 games not on Saturday. That's part of the contract. And Texas Tech is part of that. And Tech and Iowa State were the only 2 schools in the Big 12 who didn't play a game on Friday last year. Heck, Houston played 3 games on Friday last year. And there was 4 schools, Arizona State, Kansas, and one other Big 12 schools that played 2 games on Friday. And then there were 7 FBS games last year in Texas played on Friday night. So it's kind of one of those deals where, everybody takes their turn, and Texas Tech didn't get the turn wasn't forced on Texas Tech last year. It's going to be this year. I think the part of the interesting thing about this is, the TV networks, and Cody alluded to this, draft the games they want, the matchups they want. And while, Texas Tech fans obviously don't, generally speaking, they don't like Friday night games. It's kind of because of, Lubbock's remote location with its fan base in Dallas-Fort Worth, the huge fan base they have in Dallas-Fort Worth and the other areas outside of West Texas. It makes it hard for those folks to get to a Friday night game, plan for and get to a Friday night game. So Tech is probably more resistant to this than some other schools in the Big 12, because of its location.
Do you see at all that this right here, and what Cody said again about the Big 12 runs through Lubbock, is that a little bit of that arrogance that we used to see? And I like Cody a lot, but was that a little bit arrogant that you used to maybe see from DeLoss Dodge and the University of Texas, and people thought about them always wanting to run the conference?
Well, that is a fair criticism, and the anti-Texas Tech crowd and the folks who maybe aren't that fired up to see Cody's name in the news, fairly often discussing college sports, they immediately made that connection that Texas is gone. And, Texas Tech used to complain about Texas griping about getting its way and, strong arm in the Big 12. And folks are saying, well, now Texas Tech is trying to use the same tactics. I don't know. It's kind of interesting it's kind of funny to see this, interesting to see this blow up the way it has over an issue that I don't regard as something to a hill to die on, so to speak.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you there.
Like I say, especially if especially if Texas Tech is being singled out and asked to do something that other schools aren't asked to do, where in fact it's just the opposite. As I say, Tech and Iowa State are the only Big 12 schools that didn't get a dose of Friday night college football last year. So it's kind of, Texas Tech's turn. But, you have the dynamic of, and both guys have said this more than once, one of Brett Yormark's, kind of best friends in the conference, and one of the guys who, kind of welcomed him the most when he came in was Lawrence Skubnik, the Texas Tech president. Mm-hmm. So I kind of have this image in my head of, Lawrence Skubnik just being kind of like a wrestling ring, and Lawrence Skubnik being the referee and telling these guys, you go to your corner and you go to your corner. Because obviously he has good relationships with both.
Yep, absolutely. Anything else, Paul, Craig?
Yeah, I think it was very pro wrestling when Cody Campbell responded to Brett Yormark by saying, I guess the commissioner doesn't know that everything runs through Lubbock, and then talked about throwing tortillas again. I mean, Don, that was like, all right, if this was sort of like pleasantries and just maybe just read it how you want to, that felt like very pro wrestling. And Cody Campbell clearly had no hesitation in just continuing to throw a bit more fuel on the fire. And I found that just a really interesting response by him. And clearly you're right that it's like mask off as far as I'm not behind the scenes. I am very much in front of the scenes, and I'm going to say what I want to say.
Yeah. And, that kind of thing goes over well to, I would say, a majority of Texas Tech fans, because Texas Tech fans have always felt, kind of put upon and not accorded the respect that they feel like their teams have earned, their school has earned. But he's very genuine and very sincere, but I think he also knows that he's also kind of preaching to the choir, playing to the crowd a little bit on this, because there are a lot of most Texas Tech fans are going to read Cody's tweets and go, yeah,
yep,
go get them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it was interesting.
One thing, two points I want to make real quick. One thing you were reading right as you brought me on the air, David.
Yep.
Was the quote? You said Kirby Hocutt said that. It was actually a quote, and I look back here at my story. That was a quote from Brett Yormark at the 2023 Big 12 Media Days. He's had this desire to play football games on Friday night from the first year that he got here. And the quote that you read there, right as you were bringing me on, was that was a Yormark quote, not a Kirby Hocutt quote. And the other thing I think, and you guys may have talked about maybe before we came on, but to me, the whole big issue for Texas Tech, the biggest reason for Texas Tech to resist this is because of the difficulty that imposes on your football team. And because they're playing at Oregon State on the previous Saturday, you kind of presume that it'll probably a night game. And if it is, then as Cody said in that story, you're not going to get back to Lubbock until 4:00 on Sunday morning. Coaches probably will maybe have to go straight into the office and start prep work. Normally your football team has Monday, or Texas Tech's football team, she only takes Monday off because athletes have to have, according to NCAA rule, 1 day per week off. So you're not going to be able to have that. Your off day that week, I'm guessing, probably would be Saturday. So it puts you on a short week coming off a Pacific Coast road trip. And just kind of looking back, kind of skimming some of the Friday night games Big 12 teams played last year, it seemed like most of them that I looked at the Saturday before, they didn't have that kind of travel difficulty leading into the short week.
All right, man. Good stuff, Don. Appreciate you. I'm sure your phone's been blown up.
Don, when is Texas Tech joining the SEC or the Big Ten?
Well, I don't really foresee that happening.
Yeah.
And here's the other thing. I know you guys are probably short on time, but
you're good.
If you have a donor who's making these kind of statements and is really, like I say, not afraid to say what he's going to say, how would that play if you were a conference that was considering Texas Tech as a new member? Do you want that?
That's Craig brought that up before you came on. That's exactly what he said. So if you're Greg Sankey, Petiti, you're like, oh, really? Because those, especially, Sankey, God knows, he runs that thing with an iron fist. Not that he doesn't listen. Great stuff, Don. Well done. Thank you very much for your time today. Have a great rest of the week.
Thank you, David. Appreciate it, guys.
Williams, the Lubbock Avalanche Journal. Craig, he right to the point of what you said.
Yeah, I totally understand, and I mentioned the travel part about playing Oregon State. Now he went a little deeper on it, and I'm glad that he did, because you do think about the turnaround there, and if in fact some of the other schools that were playing on Fridays had an easier previous week schedule versus being all the way out in Corvallis, which is all the way out, then yeah, that's a little bit different, and you can see where that would not be best for Texas Tech football. So to no one's surprise, Cody Campbell's thinking about Texas Tech football's best interest, and that's to be expected. That's the place I've always been, and that's why I've not said this in an anti-Cody Campbell way. I feel like sometimes people can't hear anything that's not perfect about the people they like, and so they take it as like, you're attacking him. It's like, no, I just don't think that Cody Campbell always was like, it's Big 12 first, and then it was always Texas Tech first, and this is the clearest example of that. And it's not that he's not valid in what he's talking about. He has a valid point. I just think the lengths that he's taken it, literally going on Twitter and saying, I guess the commissioner didn't get the memo. The Big 12 runs through Lubbock. Maybe we'll throw tortillas again. I just feel like, dude, that is like just throwing middle fingers in the air. And I understand. And I saw, 99% of Texas Tech fans love that. They eat it up. There's a few that are like, dude, that's kind of cringe, actually. And I don't know how smart that really is. And my whole thing was exactly what Don just said, which is what echoed what I said about 10 minutes ago, is if you're one of those fans who's like, yeah, get us out of the bum-ass Big 12. We're going to go join somewhere else. And tell Greg Sankey that you're going to cross his rules whenever you don't get something that you don't want? Like, that's not a good example that you're setting, to Don's point of backing that up as well. Now, is that all even realistic anyways? I don't know how realistic that is anyways, like as far as going somewhere else. So
okay,
either way, they're going to be in the Big 12, and it's going to be
Yeah.
a very interesting meetings when Cody Campbell and Brett Yormark cross paths.
Well, no one ever thought USC, UCLA, Oregon would be in this. So never say never because of what we've seen the last 3 to 5 years. But I don't see that as anything imminent, not the next round of whatever changes.
I think there are priorities for Cody Campbell. It's Texas Tech, and then the Big 12 insofar as it can help Texas Tech.
And that should be like, that's what I've always thought. But for some reason, Paul, there's people that think he's like the savior of the Big 12 or something. And maybe to a lesser extent, but yeah, first and foremost, he's going to put Tech first. And that's not a knock. That's just, he's the billionaire booster of Texas Tech. That's what you'd expect him to do. Just like T Boone for Oklahoma State, or who's some of the Texas, the big wigs, like Michael Dell. I mean, he's not worried about Georgia having as much as Texas does.
Back when it was the attorney who was that he was a little bit more.
Was it
vocal.
McCombs?
Well, Red McCombs was one. The car he owned the car dealerships too, but there was an attorney, I think, out of the Houston area he was a little bit more outspoken. He was one of the alphas.
Yeah.
But having said that, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So like that's to be expected. That's no problem. Like that's what I always thought. But yeah, I think those next meetings between Yormark and Campbell will be very interesting. I definitely picked up on vibes that Brett Yormark, especially the last time we talked to him, we asked him about Cody Campbell, and just his answer, but kind of, I don't know, sort of a delayed response and then a very measured response at that was just, it struck me as odd at the time, because you would think if anybody was sitting there hanging out in the corner with Cody Campbell, it would be Brett Yormark, right? But instead, he had the same response as you would expect from Greg Sankey or Tony Petitti or Jim Phillips. And that struck me as kind of strange. But now it all has become very clear on why that is, because they clearly see the future of the sport very differently. And I'm sure it doesn't help that Cody Campbell's trying to pack this very specific act to save college sports. And even the commissioner of the league his school is in is like, nope, I'm on the other side. I'm with the other guys. We want to do this other thing. I'm sure that's probably another disagreement between those two amongst various others.
I'm going to start. I think that is what starts
at the heart of it. Yeah.
Yeah. You got a guy in Yormark that he's not flawless. He's not perfect. Neither is Cody. And I think Yormark has probably behind closed doors, whether back in the day, was it Mac Rhodes or now Kirby Hocutt or whoever, has probably checked him. I do know the UConn basketball story was something he wanted big time. And by the way, that wouldn't be bad to have him, but at the same time, the timing of it, and he got checked. There were people that said, don't do it. We don't want to do this. And I'm sure that kind of like, wait a minute, I'm Brett Yormark. And they checked him. So there's nothing wrong with being checked. But at the same time, I think whatever it is, saving college sports is what's gotten under his ass a little bit. Yeah.
I can see why. He's dedicated a lot of money and what would you call it? Politicking and
his reputation.
Yeah,
and
I mean, he's gone all in on this act. And so if the commissioner of the league your school is in that you think would be an ally is also on the side of all the people who you consider to not be allies necessarily as far as college sports and saving it goes, then yeah, I could see that would be a pretty big rift as well.
Well,
but I think if anything monumental were to come from this, I think it would be the Big 12 moving on from Brett Yormark first before it would be whatever other options would even be out on the table. I don't know.
Well, here's the thing about Brett Yormark. If you look at his career, we are at the point where he starts to look for the next thing and the next place he can go make a bunch of money to. And
You know, there are coaches who are really good about taking a program that's down, struggling, and rebuilding it.
Matt Rule.
Get it back to where it needs to be, and then they get bored. They need another challenge. Whether
Larry Brown.
Larry Brown.
Matt
Rule, Temple, Baylor, and trying to do that now at Nebraska. And there are others that do that.
Hey,
that they're not as good about, once they get something very competitive, of staying there and enjoying it.
Chip Gaines isn't going to come back and remodel your house after he's done it. Right. I mean, some people are,
if in fact
he's not going to come repair it and do all the upkeep on it.
Yeah. So like the Chip he comes in, he and Joanna fix your house. And then guess what? They move on to the next house.
Oh, they do that while the cameras are rolling.
Yeah, I just don't see Brett Yormark as a Dallas lifer at this point. And so he's been around, he's done a lot, and we're not starting any rumors here. But like I'm saying, if there's a big move to be made that stems from this very public spat, that could just be settled over a beer, maybe in Frisco in a few months. Maybe that's how it all comes together. But if not, then yeah, I think far more likely than Texas Tech taking its ball and going somewhere else, because there's very limited options, would be to see a change at commissioner, because the schools themselves decide that maybe they need a fresh coat. Now, that would be really interesting because of the timing of everything, but I do feel like something's going to have to give between these two. Or maybe they come together like the Crips and the Bloods, and they hang their towels together like, no, we're unified. You know, that video that floats around occasionally, like, no, we're united. Like maybe we get one of those moments, but I kind of doubt it based on today.
All right, when we come back, Jet Drenning is the sideline analyst for West Virginia football. He will join us on Rich Rod and what he's got going on in Morgantown, and maybe even get his thoughts about what he thought today about the Yormark and Cody Campbell back and forth. Later on, a really interesting quote from Kurt Signetti on Josh Hoover, with a little bit of a sidebar, including Sonny Dykes and more. We'll look at the NCAA weekend, the Final Fours in Phoenix and Indianapolis, and this is 365 Sports. North Star Funding Partner, a new IRA. Have you heard about this? A new IRA insured retirement advantage through North Star Funding Partners. Small case premium finance platform designed to look and feel and function like a retirement plan without the IRS contribution caps. North Star Funding Partners has been premium finance space for over 25 years with more than $1 billion in loan values. This isn't experimental, it's institutional grade lending adapted for smaller, repeatable case size. And this platform exists because of the experience, not because of some theory. If you're desiring retirement, accumulation, and access, North Star Funding Partners has approved carriers that you already know, and they also know how to get in touch with them and talk with them, so you can trust that too. If you're interested, there's a number or two, but I'm not good about putting phone numbers up unless they're on the screen. We'll do that later on. But here is North Star Funding. It's simple. NorthStarFundingPartners.com.
As my go-to guy, can you fix my smartphone?
Yes.
Do you have car batteries?
Yeah.
What about golf car batteries?
Of course.
Battery from a G-Fob?
Absolutely.
My boat?
Huge variety.
Toy boat?
Sure.
Motorcycles?
You bet.
My apartment building?
Whole building.
Do you have batteries for my party lights?
Yeah.
Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
The selection here at Allen Samuels is great. They have a wide selection of vehicles. They go anywhere from a car to an SUV to a truck. I'm more of a car person myself. That's why I got the Chrysler 300 last. But my wife is looking for an SUV, which they have a lot of choices there. Anybody that's looking for a vehicle, I would recommend Allen Samuels.
Like Allen Samuels always said, Waco has a lot to offer, and so do we at Allen Samuels Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. Come by, let's be friends.
Bold are the adventurous. Determined are the leaders. Faithful are the healers. At Baylor, you'll find your calling, your people, and your purpose. Dare to be you, indeed.
It's time to compete against yourself, finding too many excuses not to work out combined with bad eating habits, and Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness can help reach inside your competitive soul. Discipline, getting results you've only dreamed about, personal training, group exercise classes, and even a tanning bed, world-class tennis facility, and pickleball courts and lessons available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, spacious, clean workout rooms, free weights, state-of-the-art technology, weight training equipment, and no intimidation. It's time for you to react today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Serving Central Texas since 1889, TFNB Your Bank for Life takes pride in being more than a bank. TFNB, we remain committed to these principles. If you value them too, come join us. TFNB, your bank for life.
You got batteries for my side-by-side?
Yes.
Replace my flashlight?
Sure thing. What about my business?
Oh, good one.
100%. Batteries for my fleet of trucks?
Gas floor scrubbers?
Yes, and fire panels. We have pallets of batteries.
Well, what about...
As your go-to guy, if it needs a battery, we have it.
Well, that's all you had to say.
Could have led with that. Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
This 3 o'clock hour is brought to you by QC Kinetics. Feel better, move better, live better with regenerative medicine using your body's own healing abilities for natural pain relief. No surgery, no drugs, no downtime. With locations in Dallas and Houston at QCkinetics.com. Now it's time for 365 Sports.
We will speak with Jed Redding in a minute from Morgantown. He's the sideline analyst for West Virginia football. IdealMRI.com, state-of-the-art imaging machine for $497 or less every single time. Here's a note about you cannot get into a conference if you're not invited. Kind of what, Craig, you're discussing with some of that. We'll just go to the Big Ten or we'll go to the SEC. No one that I know of, not even the almighty schools, have just all of a sudden, hey, we're coming to see you. Now, that might have been the case with Texas and OU, although we don't really still know all that story. But you don't get to go into whatever conference you think you should go into by just walking in the door without somebody inviting you to be there.
Yeah, what is this stemming from? Just what I was saying earlier?
It was in the chat, probably
okay.
About the possibility of anybody going, okay, we're going to take our toys and leave and go next door.
Florida State and Clemson just tried to do it.
Yeah.
They tried to, in a way, tell the other leagues, like, hey, we're open for business, guys.
Yeah.
Come on and get us. And every time people were asked, they were like, nah, we're good. And not to say that if those schools were in the water that it wouldn't happen, but the answer was, you guys aren't in the water. So what are we talking about?
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. And when I say that about Tech, I mean that about most any school, that, yeah, you're not just going to sit there and, well, we didn't get our way, we're going to take our bags and we're going to leave. Now, I know Tech in particular feels incredible right now, as they should, because everything is coming up red and black, or scarlet and black. I mean, they are in a golden era, at least it appears so, that should last for the foreseeable future, because the rules and the way they've been able to adapt better than most should only continue to benefit them moving forward. But I do think that it sort of makes some of the probably already delusional folks that much more delusional when you get onto social media. And like, this is where I come from, of like, I would love to know who's saying things sometimes, because then it would at least make more sense. It would make more sense if it's like an 11-year-old kid saying, well, we're going to go to the SEC. Screw Brett Yormark. Okay, well, you're 11. You don't really know any better, right? But if it's like a fan who follows, I don't know how you could think that's like a logical thing that you're just going to pivot to because you didn't get your way one time. You don't just walk in because you're angry and because you have a lot of money. And certainly Cody Campbell talking to Brett Yormark the way that he did, I don't think makes Greg Sankey or Tony Petitti go, man, I would love for you to come to our conference and tell me what's what and tell me what you're going to do, because I don't think that would fly. Never mind the fact of all the hurdles that there would be in joining one league or the other. But if they're like anybody else, which they are, and clearly Texas Tech has high aspirations, I mean, they're always looking to put themselves in the best position. That's what Texas and Oklahoma ultimately did. That's what A&M had to do at one point in time. And certainly there's a lot coming up here in the next few years with TV deals, that there's going to be all sorts of wild speculation and rumors. But I think the response that I saw today from more than a handful of people of like, well, let's just leave the Big 12 and go join the SEC or something, I'm probably giving it too much energy, because it's wishful thinking, in my opinion. But I guess you never say never. I don't think that's the guaranteed exit strategy by any means. And I think it's funny that, or maybe not funny, but we had this whole year where the Big 12 finally seemingly comes together and is getting along. And then here you have the new Texas, or however you want to refer to them, who's now at odds with, and I don't mean that necessarily, but it's just there's definitely that at odds with the commissioner now once again. So much for the peaceful era of the Big 12.
We are now joined by sideline analyst for West Virginia football, Jed Redding, great friend of the show, great knowledge when it comes to the Mountaineers, joins us on 365 Sports. Jed, thank you, with Craig and David and Paul. We had Don Williams of the Lubbock Avalanche Journal on just a minute ago about the back and forth between Cody Campbell and Brett Yormark. Did that show up in your timeline or on your radar today?
It didn't. I've been driving all day, and I now find myself, I'm sure Don was great. He always is. But I find myself, guys, I'm actually in beautiful Kaiser, West Virginia, to track meet. Kaiser, of course, the hometown of Philadelphia Phillies legend John Crook.
Oh.
I'm going to track meet here. I've been driving all day here and there, and now I end up here, so I didn't see it.
Kaiser, Keyser, right?
Yes, sir. That's where I'm at right now. John Crook made it famous.
Yeah.
We all remember John Crook.
He became a hell of a baseball analyst too. Paul?
Yes, he did.
Jed, who's the quarterback right now?
Right now?
Yeah.
One of you guys want the job? I mean, we still have a battle. I mean, there's a couple candidates that are in the lead, and I mean, they have skill sets, they have talent, and they have potential. And they both come from interesting and different backgrounds. Scotty Fox, of course, played extensively over the second half of last year and really produced and showed some great things down the stretch. And Michael Hawkins, Dallas kid, who was a much heralded kid, coveted kid coming out of high school as part of that Oklahoma class a couple years ago. He's now transferred to West Virginia as well. We have a holdover from last year, Max Brown, a couple young kids we're excited about. But the room's in a pretty good spot. Anything that's going to foster that kind of competition is going to get the best out of all of them. And I'm particularly interested in seeing how Scotty responds and how Mike Hawkins responds.
Where does it feel like Rich Rod has the program right now? Are we still in a rebuilding phase? Or are we talking about on the cusp of something? Kind of what is the expectation that's been set heading into this second year and sort of where Mountaineers fans feel like they are on the progress chart?
Great question. This is kind of rebuild 2 and year 2, right? I mean, in the modern age of college football, you're to some extent going to be flipping your roster each year, some more than others. West Virginia has flipped it almost to the same extent we did last year. I would argue that this year it's been much more intentional and vetted. The fundamental difference was when Rich was hired to replace Neil, he came in December. And his chief of staff, Dusty Rutledge, it was Rich and Dusty basically for the month of December locked in the facilities building with a jar of peanut butter trying to make enough phone calls to throw a football team together during the portal window. We didn't have a staff in place. So that was difficult to the extreme. And some of those guys worked out, some of them didn't. But now what you're looking at is a top 20 recruiting class, top 20 portal class for what that's worth on paper. But the intentionality of it's been obvious. We've had a full run-up of 12 months to target and pursue those that we wanted. And I think we're in a pretty good spot at every position. I think there's going to be some competition, some battles. And you can see physically, you can see a big difference when you talk to the strength staff coming out of winter workouts as we are in the middle of spring ball now. Physically, it's much different. But with Rich, it's always going to be about, okay, you can physically be longer and faster and stronger, but are you going to have that hard edge? Are you going to develop that type of mentality that you need as a culture and as a locker room? What's the old adage that, if you get the right dogs in the locker room, even the cats start barking. That's what we're trying to work our way towards, right? And he's big on earned success. And while I sit here and talk about flipping the roster, being a reinvented football team, being much better at every position, when you look at some of the additions of the staff, Rick Trickett made some headway. This offseason, there's been a lot of headlines about Coach Trickett. We're a much different football team, but when you live and die with your mantra being earned success, that doesn't matter until you can, between the lines, roll a football out and prove it starting in the fall.
Jed, what was more important for them to get better at it? And of course, you need both. Is it the big uns, the guys in the trench and bigger, better, faster, or bigger, better, stronger, or the speed that Rich Rod loves to use on the outside and with his running backs and weapons?
Well, you know him well, Smokey. No doubt about that. I mean, the age-old rule in football at any level is when your big guys with their hand in the dirt can get nasty and knock around their big guys in the hand in the dirt, your life's going to be easier and you're going to win some football games. We definitely had to improve there. And when you look at what we've done, the biggest difference would be, let's start on the offensive side. With the offensive line, we were embracing a situation with Coach Jack McNell coaching the O-line last year. Coach McNell had to take over a unit that had lost through attrition. When you change coaches in the age of the portal, it's going to happen. 9 of its top 10 players are our 2 deep. So that's what he was tasked with. Now compare that to this year. This year, we have a couple guys coming back that we think are much improved players, and they're going to help, but we've made some great additions through the portal ourselves. We're actually in the top 10 in the country in career offensive line snaps. So we're in a much different place when you look at some of these guys that are long in the tooth. They've played a lot. Even a couple guys from Jack State that came with Rick Trickett. I mean, when you look at Cam Griffin, when you look at Bubba Grayson, both those guys logged over 1,000 or even 1,500 snaps for Rick Trickett, and you almost have to convert that like there's a dog years filter with it. Like if you played 1 year for Trickett or 2 years for Trickett, it's probably worth 5 or 6 for anybody else in terms of what you know from a technique standpoint. So I think on the offensive side of the football, we're much better, and you better be. I mean, last year, guys, 8 times in 12 games, we only averaged 3.3 yards per carry or worse. And many times it was worse. And as Coach Trickett likes to say, if you can't run the football, it's going to be a long day in bedrock. And there were a lot of long days in bedrock last year. And then when you go to the defensive side of the football, we have some size and some girth and some twitch even on the interior. And we like where we're at there. But one of the focuses was off the edge. Can we get the type of length and type of burst there to add some production to a team that somehow, some way, we managed 28 sacks last year, but that was kind of top heavy. Guys, 20 of those 28 came in our 4 wins. So that's a strong indicator as to our struggles getting after the passer when things weren't going well. Because if you let Zach Alley as a defensive play caller really hone in on you and get a bead on some of what's going on, those things come in clusters. We had a game with 6 sacks. We had a game with 7 sacks. Once he gets rolling and gets humming, and if you have the appropriate talent on the field with that scheme, it's going to work. We've tried to populate those edge positions with guys that have been productive elsewhere. And we've landed some bodies and some guys with a pedigree that we think can do that. So it's a nice mix and a nice blend on the defensive side of the line.
Transfers, a lot of in and out this year. The revolving door was crazy for West Virginia. Mm-hmm. Do you feel good about, clearly, I guess, by the kind of tone of what you're saying, you feel good about that being more additive and the ability to gel that together, maybe better than year one, which is always kind of chaotic in college football now for anybody, even if you're as accomplished as Rich Rodriguez is.
Yeah. And, outside of a couple blue bloods, you're probably not going to bat 1,000 in terms of everything being a positive and nothing being a negative. I mean, sure, there's always going to be a couple kids that you wanted to retain that just for whatever reason it didn't work out. But by and large, overwhelmingly, I think it was a positive and it was additive. And again, I could look at any position, each position, and talk about how we bolstered and improved ourselves at those positions. I mean, case in point, when you look at the running back situation, nobody wants to necessarily lose a Jaheim White, right? But if you're going to lose a Jaheim White, you know what you better have? A Cam Cook, the nation's leading rusher, replacing him. And that's what we have. Cam Cook is a missed tackles forced machine. I've said it many times. By a wide margin, those 10-plus yard carries that help an offense develop rhythm and get humming a little bit. He had 54, led the country last year, guys. There were 2 guys tied in second place with 43. That's what this offense missed, that element of consistency in the run game, which makes everything else, the dimensions of the screens, the dimensions of the pass game, the play action game, everything else starts humming when those types of things happen. So if you're going to lose something, you better gain something. And I think in the instances where we lost something, we did in fact gain something.
Jed, I know that part of why maybe Morgantown hasn't seemed so formidable is just the team hasn't been as good as when they were like nearly unbeatable at home. But does it feel like Morgantown still has that mystique? It seems like they've got a handful of road games that could be, tough. I mean, going to Lubbock and going to Ames and Salt Lake, but there's 8 home games. Like, do you feel like there's kind of that mystique returning with Rich Rod at the helm of Morgantown's a really dangerous place to play?
Let me give you a twofold answer. First, I was impressed under any and all circumstances last year, the way the fan base responded to a 4-8 football team, especially late in the year. They didn't have to turn out in the numbers that they did to watch us down the stretch, and yet that still happened. But Morgantown is such that you're always going to have that hardcore fan base at the center that's going to come hell or high water. They're not going to miss anything. Mm-hmm. Now, with a state of 1.8 million, you don't have as many to draw from. But you're always going to have a heck of a nucleus that's always going to show up, no matter how many you win, how many you lose. But what's going to put you over the top? And this is true anywhere. I always tell people what makes the difference between a great fan base and a good one or a poor one Yeah, everybody turns out when you win, right? But what happens when you're not winning, when you're 4-8? And yeah, I was pleasantly surprised by what happened with 4-8 in terms of how the fans responded. But you give them a winner, and you take that second, third, fourth step as you start building this thing. Case in point, guys, we just had almost 14,000 fans pack the Hope Coliseum to watch the WVU women's basketball team. You give them a winner, you give them an opportunity, WVU fans will show up in any and all sports, but especially in football. All you had to do was go to that Pitt game last year, and nobody's going to ask that question if they were in 40 miles of that stadium for that Pitt game.
Man, it was great. We finally got a chance to meet Rich Rod at the Big 12 Media Days. Just, I can imagine how much fun it is to cover him and be around him, and you get great quotes from him as well. Wish him the best. And you're right. We have a few viewers who are West Virginia fans. One of them, S. Michael DeHart, he was telling me that throughout the year about the fan base in West Virginia women's basketball. And that's what they do. They support the team, and if they win, then they go even further into it. Jed, thank you for your time. Safe travels as you're driving around West Virginia. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you.
Jed Drennan, this guy, he's got a preseason football magazine that I'll tell you about in just a Signal Caller, I think is what it's called. He does a great job covering West Virginia, but also the Big 12.
So I hope he didn't take my question as an insult. I don't think I made it come across that way, as though they weren't supporting. It's just that I remember it used to be really daunting of like, oh, you got to go to Morgantown. And I just feel like you haven't heard that, even if the support has still been there for, I don't know, going on a few years now. It's just sort of lost that, well, that's a loss kind of a feel that it had. But yeah, I wasn't at all implying that West Virginia fans aren't still supporting. Of course they are. They're the most
No, you know why I
rabid.
know that he didn't take it that way? Because he would have said something.
Okay, yeah, I just want to make sure there because, yeah, that wasn't my intention. And so I want to clear the air there because, yeah, I know they've supported through thick and thin. It's just a matter of it's like Stillwater. It used to be like, man, you don't want to go to Stillwater. And recently it's like, oh, we're going to go to Stillwater. I don't care. Like an average Baylor team will roll in there and win or something. But 2014-ish or 2013, 12, 11, 10, et cetera, you didn't want to go to Stillwater. You didn't want to go to Stillwater. You didn't want to go to Morgantown. And that's kind of lost its luster. But, of course, the fan support's always been there. And I think that's two fan bases where, yeah, maybe you don't want to go to Stillwater again starting this year. You don't want to go to Morgantown again starting this year. And I think there is a better than not chance they're pretty good. And we'll have a rabid crowd with something to feed off of because I think with Rich Rod's style and a guy like Michael Hawkins, who I'm not convinced about as a passer. He's got a lot of work to do in that regard. But you don't have to be Peyton Manning throwing the football to be successful in college, especially if you can run it well. And Michael Hawkins is a terrific dual threat player, much more of a polished runner at this point than a passer. And you add Cam Cook, who we saw a couple years back at TCU, but Jack State last year was in line as the nation's leading rusher like throughout the year. That was a great pickup for them. And you just start there and put that behind a offensive line that's veteran and solidified. And yeah, that's going to do some damage against some teams who are having to try to counteract that rushing attack. So I'm excited to see what that looks like. And I think Scotty Fox is going to make it interesting. I don't think I saw a conversation the other day about like, well, it's Michael Hawkins. He came from OU. And I'm like, you didn't watch him.
Yeah.
Like, it's so clear. Like, I saw these people talking about Michael Hawkins like he was just, well, of course he's going to be the starting quarterback. Did you watch him? Like, I know Scotty Fox was young and green, but there were some positives about him. I think Michael Hawkins will be the starting quarterback, but it just was immediately like, bing, you didn't watch Oklahoma last year when Michael Hawkins played.
I can tell you if you would ask me who I think the better athlete overall is, it's probably Michael Hawkins.
Oh, yeah.
But the position isn't athlete. The position is quarterback.
Right.
It's nice if you're a great athlete, but you also still have to quarterback.
Yeah. My issue with it was just that it was like this no doubter of like, well, of course he's going to win the job. I think that he will, like I said, but Scotty Fox will make it interesting. I think Scotty Fox has a lot of promise. And I think in a really tough situation last year, he did some pretty good things. But yeah, Michael Hawkins with Cam Cook running the rock behind him, and a strong offensive line, and we'll see what else develops as far as skill guys. In a Rich Rod offense, that's exciting. 8 home games.
With his speed, he's still got to do it. But, yeah, with his speed, that's what I was talking about because he's always had dudes, not just the great ones, but he's had guys that can fly.
Oh, there's absolutely reason to believe that can work and that can be successful. And I'm excited about that for West Virginia because I know how hungry they are. And they do have some tough road games, but they've got a bunch of home games that they can really take advantage of, and I'm excited about that.
Yeah, I love having Jet on the show. West Virginia Mountaineers, it's fun to have football segments with us, and we'll have more along the way. And for quite some time between now until we get to Big 12 Media Days in July. When we come back, Kirk Cignetti on Josh Hoover. Alabama's AD on the SEC Championship. Chandler Morris and his father testified today. That and more. And the Fernando Mendoza Pro Day yesterday set everybody on their ear. And we'll do that and a lot more. This is 365 Sports. Marco's Pizza. Pizza lovers get it. 5 locations in Waco. It was just not a few years ago. There was none. Fastest growing pizza brand in America. I've told you that you go to marcos.com and see all the favorites, like right now, specials, Magnifico pizzas, starting large at $12.99. The one topping medium pizzas, $8.99. Pepperoni Magnifico with pepperoni only, but a bunch of it for $12.99. Sides and desserts from brownies to more. And that's available along with salads and sandwiches and wings. Explore their hot deals online, marcos.com. If you aren't sure what you're having for dinner tonight or any night, go online, put in an order, and then pick it up on the way. Or they'll deliver it, of course, where you want them to do that too. Bob Mock, the owner, Marco's Pizza. Pizza lovers get it at marcos.com.
It's in the major leagues for 24 years. And let me tell you, I can feel it in my joints. Shoulders, elbows, and knees. Trust me, pain doesn't retire when you do. I tried everything to get rid of the pain. Nothing worked until QC Kinetics.
Baseball legend Roger Clemens and other patients are getting lasting relief with QC Kinetics regenerative treatments. No surgery.
I trust QC Kinetics. You should too. Let's commit to getting rid of all the pain.
Schedule your free consultation today. QC Kinetics. Better starts here.
With over 25 years of excellence in IT, Carrion Solutions is your trusted technology partner. From managed IT services to cutting-edge cybersecurity, our expert team delivers tailored solutions that drive success. Our portfolio includes products such as Veeam, Bitdefender, Microsoft, Cisco, and Fortinet. Call David Carrion and his team of experts. Call 888-522-2221 or visit us at carrionsolutions.com.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at alliancebanktexas.com. Member FDIC, an equal housing lender.
Hello, I'm Camille Johnson with Camille Johnson Realtors. We specialize in selling residential real estate agent all across our community, and we love serving all types of families. We have been in business at Camille Johnson Realtors for almost 9 years, and I have been a residential real estate agent for almost 40 years. And we love our partnership with 365. So thank you for partnering with me, and thank you so much to all of my clients who have made our company a success.
Join the celebration. It's 27 years for Richard Car Motors, and we're celebrating with big anniversary savings.
Get a 2023 Rogue Buick Enclave for $301 per month, or get a 2022 Chevy Silverado for only $446 per month, or a 2023 Volkswagen Jetta for $236 per month. All pre-owned cars and trucks on the lot are tagged with big anniversary savings.
Thank you, Central Texas, for 27 years. Log on, call, or come by today to find big anniversary savings now.
At Richard Car, we give you more.
Pepperoni Magnifico. Pepperoni Magnifico. Marco's Pepperoni Magnifico. Classic and crispy cut pepperoni, 3 melty cheeses, all on our fresh made dough. And starting at just $12.99 for a large, it's no wonder Marco's was named America's favorite pizza chain.
This 4 o'clock hour is brought to you by Stonewood Dental, your one-stop shop for your dental needs, specializing in teeth cleaning, fillings, crowns, sealants, root canals, IV sedation, extractions, implants, bridges, dentures, full mouth restorations, and bioaesthetic dentistry. Our priority is your comfort from the moment you walk through the front door. Stonewood Dental in Robinson, Texas. Now it's time for 365 Sports.
All right, so Kirk Cignetti, well, the story of amazing James Madison, and before that, of course, and then the fact that Indiana, what they've done the last 2 years, the defending national champions, 16-0. He was asked about what areas of improvement do you need to see from TCU's transfer quarterback, Josh Hoover? And he did make light of Sonny Dykes in the comment about turnovers. Yeah, we're still learning about him. You know, a couple of different things there. We'd like to see him play a little faster, practice with a little more urgency, drive every ball. I don't know what was asked of him, where he came from in terms of practice, but no plays are like a throw-off. You know, even walkthrough, we get a wide receivers running wide receivers running half speed. Well, you know, we want him to drive every football. Here's the fun part. But obviously, I think the great thing is I'm excited about Josh. First of all, let's be clear about that. He's got body of work in terms of winning football games, passing yards, and touchdowns. Got to clean up some of the turnovers, obviously with what Coach Dykes made light of. But, you know, when Josh got here, he met two new best friends, great defense, and a really good run game. And he was never the same after that.
Well, respectfully, this doesn't hit quite the same as the video of him saying this, because he does a little wink at the end of saying it all as well. And the whole delivery of it is really what hammers home that he's taking a massive shot at Sonny Dykes' comments from a couple of weeks ago. So if you can check out the video, then do so. There's a particular clip of him saying just the part about Josh Hoover and the Sonny Dykes comments. So, yeah, the big quote, when Josh got here, he met his two new best friends, great defense and a really good run game, and he was never the same after that. And then he delivers like a wink, and that's kind of how he left that off there. And so that's gone viral because it's not often that coaches take shots like that. And you know what? When you're the national champion, when you've taken Indiana to its first national title and you've gone 16-0 and you brought this guy on board and you believe in him, and you see the old coach taking shots at him, I don't blame him. I don't blame him for responding the way that he did. And I actually absolutely love his response. And I would love to see if Sonny Dykes responds in kind. I doubt that he will. He said what he had to say about Josh Hoover a couple weeks ago, and I don't think there's really a response that he can give to what Cignetti had to say. He basically just dropped the mic on Sonny Dykes for all intents and purposes. And did not try to hide it at all with the big obvious wink there at the end of it. So he's got a point. I mean, TCU did not have a great defense for most of Josh Hoover's career, and they definitely didn't have a run game that supported him very well. So Josh Hoover was out there trying to play Mr. Everything a lot of the time, and that could certainly lead to forcing things and turnovers that otherwise maybe aren't happening, because you can hand the ball off and be assured that'll work for you, or you have a defense that doesn't have you out on the field all the time. So that's very valid. I think Josh Hoover, with a great defense, as he put it, and a run game, isn't what we've seen from Josh Hoover yet. So with his skill set, I think, yeah, he could absolutely be incredible. The fact that Indiana even wanted him to be the guy that replaces Mendoza says volumes about Hoover's talent. But if you watch the Big 12 and you watch TCU, you know the kid's got talent. But like I always said about him, he's got to clean up the turnovers. And that's what Sonny Dykes was talking about, and that's what Curt Cignetti was addressing. So the way to do that, according to him, will be his two new best friends, a great defense, and a really good run game.
You wonder if Eric Morris had not gotten the job at Oklahoma State, would Cignetti have been contacting Mestamaker first? And maybe did anyway.
I don't know. I don't know how he breaks down quarterbacks. I mean, that's not just like the vending machine. So I'm not sure that Drew Mestamaker would fit exactly the way that Josh Hoover would in the Indiana offense. So I couldn't say. I think there's also a case to be made that as prolific as Drew Mestamaker was, doesn't mean he was better than Josh Hoover as far as an overall talent goes, just because he had better numbers. I think the competition was different. I think the style of offense and the coaching from Eric Morris was probably a bit different than what he was doing with Sonny Dykes. And so, it's like there's a chance that Drew Mestamaker ends up better than Josh Hoover, but I'll default to Curt Cignetti. I mean, the dude just took Indiana to a national championship, so I'll default to him on the quarterback decision making and who he wanted more than anybody.
That doesn't mean he
but
didn't
it's a
want
great
him
question.
First,
like if Mestamaker
Morris at Oklahoma State, Mestamaker's following him.
Right. So if Mestamaker was available, yeah, that would have been interesting to see.
Yeah, but no matter what, when it comes to now what he picks, Paul, quarterbacks or whatever, hey, whatever he says is best, that I'm going to listen to him.
Well, what I didn't like about Sonny Dykes kind of throwing him under Josh Hoover under the bus was it kind of excused Sonny Dykes TCU's responsibility and all that, in that you had a bad offensive line, you couldn't run the ball, you had to throw the ball more. So just math tells you the more you throw the ball, the more opportunities you're going to have to turn the ball over. Now, look, that's on Josh Hoover as well, making dumb throws. But when you have no running game at all, you can only blame the quarterback so much.
Yeah, we discussed that team that played Georgia and got blown out, but made that great run. They ran the damn football.
But
it wasn't Hoover.
But when it comes, and that's what Kurt Cignetti is saying, is like, well, we're going to have a better running game. We're going to put him in a different system that's maybe better for him. So, yeah, I kind of probably see it more Kurt Cignetti's way than Sonny Dykes' way. But also, Sonny Dykes has got to defend his new guy and say, hey, we don't think he's going to turn the ball over as much, and we're defending the program. So it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I going back to your question, I mean, it's very valid of if Drew Mestemaker was available. I'd love to hear Kurt Cignetti answer that. But I guess I was thinking about it just from he picked Hoover, and he got Hoover pretty quickly. I mean, that seems like it was in the works. So I don't know. I'd be curious to see if there was ever a DM from somebody in Bloomington, Indiana to Drew Mestemaker. And if they were all things equal and Eric Morris wasn't involved, they're just two free agent quarterbacks, like who would be picked? But I don't know. I know that of all the quarterbacks Kurt Cignetti had to go and pick from, Josh Hoover was the guy that they clearly pursued very quickly and early. And so that says volumes to me, is basically what I was getting at, that he clearly feels like this Hoover guy's got something to him, and good for him. I think that probably only endears him even further to Josh Hoover, fighting back for him like that. I think, Sonny Dykes' comments could have come off as petty and bitter. And also, if you're a TCU fan, you're like, yeah, he did turn the ball over a lot, and we don't wish him well necessarily moving forward because he bailed on us. But he's a hell of a talent, and if they can clean up some things, which we've said multitude of times now, clean up the turnovers, there's not much that's missing from his game. He can be really deadly and could certainly help lead Indiana to another playoff berth next year. I don't know about 16-0 national championship, but he can definitely help them get to the playoff. He's a very talented player, and I don't think he had a lot of help at TCU a lot of the time.
Among the top 50 quarterbacks for quarterback passing efficiency in the NCAA last year, Hoover was 21st, Mestemaker was 4th. But of all those 50, two quarterbacks threw 13 picks, Hoover and Kevin Jennings from SMU. Marcel Reed threw 12. Most of them did not. They were in single digits when it comes to picks.
But as I've said before, it wasn't just interceptions. He also fumbled the ball quite a bit. Now, that could be a blind side, knocking the ball loose, but you count those as well. And he was one of the highest turnover margin quarterbacks in the entire country the last couple of years. So that was what I always voiced as the big drawback to him. But Indiana could maybe cure that. And if they do, then they're going to be winning a bunch more games again, and we probably just have to get used to it. But Cignetti's a treasure, and I love that he didn't hold back, and I wish more coaches would just say who they're talking about. I appreciate that he's not like, well, there's this one coach, blah, 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 and just be all vague about it, but act tough while you're saying it. He said what was on his mind, even though he kind of did it in a roundabout way, and I think he delivered a nice little shot back to Sonny Dykes.
Alabama's AD, Greg Byrne, on the SEC championship. The ship has sailed in discussing when they've moved to 9 conference games. This is a story from Blake Topmeyer in USA Today. I think the ship has sailed. It's run its course on the SEC championship game. Remember, they were the ones that started the championship game. Consider the source. This isn't some Gladfly calling for change. What he's saying is that because of the change in the number of games, because of the college football playoff, it's something that they need to look at. Although, again, they have to make up for the loss of the money you get, because that's why it all started, having conference championship games. It's a great event. I don't like the idea of it going away, but I think it's reality with the expanded playoff.
I don't know.
So who wins the conference championship?
Yeah, that's the other thing we have to figure out.
Without the 10 teams that everybody plays each other, you would have a conference champion based on something. You really don't have that unless somebody just wins it outright.
This sounds to me like the first thing he says before the next thing is, I support the 2014 playoff. That's what it sounds like to me, because that's a big 2014 playoff talking point. I think that the conference championships I don't think that they've run their course. I think they need to be weighted the same way. I think that they have to have stakes on them. And the SEC's has no stakes. The two teams that are playing in that game are going to be in the playoff, no matter what happens. No matter what happens. And even if one of them had 3 losses going in, they're in the playoff because that's how the perception is. The two teams that play in the ACC championship game or the SEC championship game or any other championship game don't have those same stakes, or they have stakes. There's no stakes to the SEC and most likely Big Ten championship games.
I think you said the SEC too, but you're talking about
there's no
Big
stakes
12,
to those. But the Big 12 and the ACC,
yeah.
they have tremendous stakes. There's no stakes to that. And so if you're going to continue the conference championship games, I would like to see stakes to them. I don't know how you even it out, though, because it is a very complex problem. And the loss of the revenue, that's another complex problem because these decisions are made only because of revenue and not anything else. So you'd have to give the media companies something else back in your negotiations about whatever the playoff is going to be.
And that's where maybe potentially you get into like the play-in game ideas, but it just starts to, I mean, there's good arguments for that. It also feels like you're starting to get super gimmicky in a way where now like half the season is just play-in games and playoff games, right? And I think there's probably somewhere in the middle that would make a lot of sense. I've heard good proposals for the play-in type games on that final weekend. But it's interesting that it's the SEC or many voices in the SEC that are speaking out against the thing they created. And it's now become an impediment, even though, yeah, both their teams get in regardless. But it is an extra game that they don't want to play if they don't have to because it hurts them, I guess, more than they feel like it helps them. And it's just something that's in the way of just getting on with the playoff and the expanded playoff at that, because many people in that article are talking about how they want 16-team playoff and they want a 24-team playoff in some cases, like Josh Heupel wants a 24-team playoff. Does he want that for the betterment of college football? No, he wants that so Tennessee's got a better chance at it every year. We got to consider the source here too, guys, and some of these things like, oh, head coach of school that doesn't make the playoff every year wants biggest tournament possible. Wow, who would have thought that? But yeah, the money's where it all starts. And so if there's more money that could be made with an expanded playoff as opposed to this championship weekend and there's less damage done and there's better ideas, then I mean, hell, if you're going to explore doing something different, now's the time to do it because everything's changing. So we might as well change that as well. But given you're the originators of it and now you're very publicly on record with multiple people, ADs, coaches, et cetera, all saying, yeah, we don't really like this thing, tells me it's probably not long for this world.
Chris Del Conte in February, why have a conference championship game? Burns' proposal, again, isn't talking about the playoff 16, adding more games, et cetera. So this, when they start talking about it, that means that they're discussing it and also looking at what they're going to do in the future. Craig, your buddy, Chandler Morris and his father testifying today in Charlottesville Circuit Court, seeking an injunction to allow him to play a 7th year of college football. I had not seen an update up until when I just read that story, but that is in court right now, testifying with his father.
Well, we'll see what happens, I guess, probably tomorrow at this point. I mean, it's 5:30 East Coast time, so I don't think that they'll be issuing a judgment unless I just am unaware of how things work over there. But I've let it be clear where I stand. I think giving him a 7th year based on mental health reasons more than anything is not good for the game of college football if you're somebody who doesn't want to see 7th and 8th year players who never want to leave and want to sue to never have to leave, because that's effectively what this is. And not to say that mental health isn't valid. I think in a lot of cases it is. I think it's something worth considering here. But if you suddenly say, all right, well, you just claim mental health and you suddenly need an extra year, even though you've already used a medical red shirt, you've already had a COVID year. Well, now you want another year because you lost your starting job. I mean, sorry, you struggle with mental health. I don't buy the argument by the Morris family. I think that he's a guy who much more benefits from sticking around in college as opposed to going to the NFL. And from a business standpoint, I'd be doing the same thing if I was them, because he's got millions to potentially earn by sticking around in college. But I don't buy the argument from everything that I've read. And I think that if you allow him to come back to play a 7th year based particularly on mental health that stems from losing your starting job, and then this not even licensed psychiatrist, mental health coach that you all say you came to an agreement with TCU, and apparently Dyke signs off on this, that he would be allowed to play limited time, but they would all treat it like a redshirt year, but not really reveal that, I guess, until later on. Like, this doesn't add up. It sounds like very much trying to figure out a way to excuse why he should have another year, but I don't think that he should. I've been very clear on that. I'm not anti-Chandler Morris. I'm anti-7th, 8th, 9th year quarterbacks in college football. That's what I'm anti.
The argument against the NCAA by Morris, ignoring its own constitutional and bylaws, emphasizing mental health, and then not using that when a young man says that's why he wants to play another year of college football or sports.
I hope it's well documented, and it's documented through TCU or somebody else, because that needs to be backed up there.
There's apparently they had talked, the coach, the mental coach that the family had, and Sonny Dykes, and I suppose they came to this conclusion that he needed to stay engaged, so he would be involved, but they would treat it like a redshirt year, and that's where it's like very fuzzy on like, okay, well, I don't remember y'all calling it a redshirt year back then, and I'm pretty sure it wouldn't have been no damn redshirt if Max Duggan had got hurt. But he lost the starting job. He was banged up. And then Max Duggan went off to finish runner-up in the Heisman and take TCU to a national title game. And now he wants that year back. And I don't buy that. I don't buy that at all.
All right. And wrap that up. We got Scott Cross here on hold.
I think that when you use mental health is a very real thing, and a very real thing that they should be concerned about.
Yes.
But you also have to do it where it's more documented with Sonny Dykes than just this handshake agreement of, well, we're going to keep him in and not play him, or he's going to be engaged. Also, I've just seen it tragically throughout sports too many times, in some very, very, very bad situations, including one that happened here in the Sam Uguachu trial, where everybody involved thought football is going to cure all, and this guy had some real serious, deep-seated issues that wound up in somebody getting victimized by it. That didn't happen with Chandler Morris, but I do think that maybe coaches and these professionals that are sports psychologists need to step away from the idea that the sports are going to cure all for everybody. It's different for everyone, but sports don't cure all.
Yes, and mental health, as you said, needs to be taken very seriously, and there are very serious cases where it wasn't, and there are repercussions for that. And so, yeah, that needs to be taken at face value. But we also need to realize that people game the system, and that people abuse the system and claim certain things to get their way. For example, being able to play another year of college football that you're technically not due. So given the evidence, even the supporting documents, is not a psychologist. This isn't a clinically licensed person. This is a mental performance coach. So I don't think that stacks up the same way as somebody who's a certified doctor, but the Virginia courts will decide, and we'll hear in the next 24 hours on what that is. And that'll be really interesting, because Virginia's already got a couple quarterbacks they brought in. And if he doesn't get to go to Virginia, if he gets the extra year, then school number 6, baby, is what we're looking at. And yeah, I don't love that either.
Yeah, he's got 2 guys already there, so he's pretty much blocked out. Scott Cross, the new head basketball coach at Georgia Tech. We were discussing Scott in his career when he was at Troy, when they made the NCAA tournament, and what he's done. We've had him on before when he was at UT Arlington. We've had him on when he was at Troy, and now we have him on as the head coach at Georgia Tech. And Scott Cross joins us, 365 Sports, right now on the eve of the Final Four in Indianapolis, Indiana. Scott, thank you very much for your time. Man, you are climbing this ladder, and you earned it. You've earned this the whole time. What is this new part of your career? What does this mean to you?
I mean, it's just a great opportunity. Now you're at a place where you can potentially win a national championship, and being able to compete in the ACC conference is pretty amazing. I mean, I grew up watching the ACC conference, and it's traditionally been one of the very, very best basketball conferences in the country. And so now to be a part of it is pretty special.
You are stepping into a great conference, like you said, in the ACC, but a school with a great history as well, and a basketball fan base that's been kind of chomping at the bit to get back at it. Do you feel that when you step in and here in this first couple of weeks, start figuring out where you're supposed to be and all that there is a fervor for basketball success there?
I think for sure. I mean, I threw out the first pitch of the baseball game. That game was completely sold out against Auburn. Baseball teams rolling here, but just talking to the fans and meeting the people, yeah, they're starving for a winner. They wanted to get back to the level it was in 2003, 2004 when they lost in the national championship game, and they're definitely fired up about the possibilities. And we just need to win games, and I think once we win games, obviously we'll get the Thriller Dome back packed again. And it's my goal to make it one of the best home court advantages in all of college basketball.
Scott, you've been, like I mentioned, the schools you've been at. And of course, I covered you when you were a player at Tyler Junior College, and I know all the former coaches there are excited for this opportunity. Kyle Keller and I traded a couple of text messages. Did you, when you were playing in Garland, was this your goal that if you didn't play at a high level, you would coach at a high level?
I wouldn't say it was my goal. I just wanted to be around the game initially. Really didn't even know I wanted to coach until probably my senior year. And you're so beat up. I had plantar fasciitis, and body was beat down, and so I probably could have went and made some pennies playing professionally overseas. And opportunity, Buzz Williams, who coached me, he was an assistant coach. He took another job, and I was hired full-time right out of college. And actually Kyle tried to talk me out of it because of all the long hours and how tough it is. But I ended up doing it, and probably would have stayed in Arlington for my entire career if I wouldn't have got let go. And so, now the good Lord has a plan, and I'm thankful that I did get fired, because I wouldn't be here today. And so, Georgia Tech's a school that I grew up watching and loving the players, and wanting to be like Kenny Anderson. And it's pretty surreal talking to him on the phone, and meeting some of these guys like Mark Price and Dennis Scott. And I think Kenny's going to come up in June and come visit with the team. So it's pretty amazing.
Especially now you have to build teams year to year, and especially your first year, you're not even into a couple weeks where completely what the roster is going to look like next year just from what's going to come back. How important is it to have those big time alumni like Kenny Anderson, like the greatest free throw shooter of all time, and Mark Price, who I think you should keep around and just have them embarrass anybody who shoots below 70% of their free throws?
Yeah, I wish somebody would have took a picture of my face after the press conference. Guy comes up and says, congratulations, I'm Mark Price. And I was just stunned because, I didn't get to watch him with Georgia Tech, but I got to watch him when he was with the Cavs. And, another guy that I would have died to be like and be in the NBA one day. But yeah, it's pretty amazing. Those guys, they definitely can make a difference. They're connected to all the generations. There's so much tradition and history, and so many people that love what those guys were able to accomplish. And so I think making them a part of what we're trying to do, I think definitely can help speed this process up. And again, I wouldn't be here today without those guys, without the Mark Prices and Dennis Scotts and Mon Shumperts and Jared Jackson, all these guys that were great players. So it's really an honor to be able to coach at a place. I think Georgia Tech has like the 11th most players that have played in the NBA and out of all the universities across the country.
I could make a ridiculous starting five.
Oh yeah.
Oh no.
You could. I mean, you're talking Mark Price, Kenny Anderson, Chris Bosh,
Dennis Scott,
Scott, John Sally, the Spider. I mean, that. I think you kind of cover all the bases you need in a starting five with just those guys I mentioned.
Yeah, definitely could be a five that would be competitive against any starting five throughout the generations. I mean, those are some really talented, successful guys, and so there is so much tradition and history, and we want to build upon it. And we want to recruit guys that'll be that next wave of guys that represent. And again, it's about winning ACC championships. And again, once you get to that level, then you win an ACC championship, you're more than good enough to win a national championship.
Scott, we had you on when you were at UTA where you played after Tyler Junior College. We had you on last year when you were at Troy when you made the tournament, and now at Georgia Tech. How much, and we discussed what happened at the end at UT Arlington. I've had a commentary or two about that. How much did that fuel your fire? How much did that, like, okay, you're going to be successful? Is that still even in your, like, on your mind?
I think I'm pretty close to being over it. It did take a while. Obviously, when it's your alma mater and something like that happens, it hits home pretty hard. But, again, everything happens for a reason. And I think it was the good Lord's way of saying, hey, I got other plans for you. Just follow my path. And, that's what I've tried to do the best of my ability. And the timing was right. And, again, it was a program that I absolutely loved as a kid. And so, I'm thankful that I had this opportunity and excited for the challenges and opportunities ahead. And I think, again, this program is poised to win at the very, very highest level.
How big of an advantage is Atlanta for you recruiting, not just recruiting good kids out of Atlanta, but in the going into the transfer portal or going outside of Atlanta and saying, hey, you've got a really big city, really fun city to come to and play?
Yeah, I think it's huge. When I was in Arlington, Dallas-Fort Worth was a little bit like that. Initially when I first got the job, Houston, we had to recruit guys from Houston because we played on a stage in Arlington, and none of the local coaches would want to send their guys to play on a stage, but it didn't have that bad of a reputation in Houston. And once we got it going, then we just recruited straight Dallas guys, and we didn't have to, an hour radius, we were able to sign our entire roster. Well, Atlanta's the same as Dallas-Fort Worth, except there's probably even more higher level events, with the OTE and the underarm. I mean, there's so many high level AAU events going on in this city. And then, I think the kids, staff, everybody wants to live in a place like Atlanta. So it definitely has its advantages. And I think guys that maybe go off for a year or two and things don't work out maybe the way they want, I think it becomes even more marketable, and it'll be a place, it's a final destination for those guys, and they'll want to play closer to home. So, I think you can definitely recruit a higher level player being in this city.
I mentioned you played at Tyler Junior College. You didn't coach at the junior college level because eventually it was, again, UTA, et cetera. But how proud are you at Brad Underwood at Illinois, who spent a lot of time, as you know, at junior college basketball? He was Stephen F. Austin, did great there. And now with Illinois in the Final Four with someone like his resume and how he got there.
Yeah, he's one of those coaches I admire and respect. I remember going and watching one of his practices at SFA, and he's a hard-nosed, tough coach. There's definitely a reason why he's had success everywhere he's been. And, he's got one of the 4 best programs in the country. It definitely has as good of a shot as anyone to win a national championship. But just to be able to be a part of a Final Four, what a truly amazing season he's had.
How do you describe your team and how they play? And, of course, you're about to have some new toys compared to how you played the game in college.
Oh, yeah. How I played the game, I thought I was a really, really good defender till I go back and I watch video, and I would have been cussing and screaming at myself because I was not very good. I thought I guarded the ball and was active and in a stance, and going back and watching it a few times, I was like, man, I was terrible defensively. But, I was more a role player. I would, hit the open post player when he was open. I'd set good screens. I'd knock down open shots, and then they would move me to the point if they needed somebody to get some minutes at the point. But I just did whatever the coach asked me to do, and I wanted to be on the floor, and so I tried to do it as good as I could. But hopefully I recruit a whole lot better players than I was here at Georgia Tech.
Scott, defense is like 80% want to. and then 20% skill. So if you have that 80%, the other 20, it's fine. You were there. You have to want to. You can. I know it drives you nuts when you have players that it's flipped and they have 20% want to and try to do it with 80% skill.
Yeah, I think if you want to be a good defensive player, you can be, and just seeing how guys have improved over the years. I mean, even my own kid, when he came in, I told him he was probably the worst defensive player that I've ever seen, and he got to the point this year where he became a pretty good defensive player. So yeah, I agree 100%. If you want to be good and you have a little bit of toughness to you and you're coachable, then you definitely can be a really good defender. And then if you get a guy with a little bit more size and a little bit more athleticism that has the want-to and the coachability, then all of a sudden you have something really special.
Last thing for me, and congratulations, man. I'm very proud of you and what you've done. There was this discussion about Miami of Ohio. They made that run unbeaten, and then they got beat in their own tournament, but they still made it. And there was this back and forth of mid-majors and scheduling them. Now you're at a P4. What is your philosophy, or what will your philosophy be about giving some of those mid-majors a chance to come play at your place?
So I will always pull for mid-majors. Coach Steele, we've had some conversations over the years. I have a ton of respect for what he's done. But if he was still at Miami, no, I don't think that would be at the top of Georgia Tech's list. So as much as I love those guys and respect them and really, really wanted them to get an at-large bid, I don't think that's very smart to schedule, and I think that's why it's tough for them and it was tough for us at Troy. It's because it makes no sense for P4 programs to play. The recipe for having a good conference net, I think, is you play as many quad 4 games as possible, you get as many wins as possible, and then you schedule quad 1 games in neutral sites. And if you lose those games, it doesn't really hurt you. And then if you win them, then you get a quad 1 win. So, we were typically hovering in the quad 2 range, and those are not good games for P4 teams at all. But I'll always have a soft spot for teams like Miami and be pulling for them. And I think that's what makes March Madness, and you want to see a couple of upsets. I just don't want it to be Georgia Tech.
There you go. Are you going to go to Indianapolis, or do you got too much to do right now in Atlanta, Georgia?
Too much to do in Atlanta, Georgia. My wife's coming down to look for a house, and so she'll probably look tomorrow, and then maybe she might show me the 1 or 2 she's considering, and hopefully we can find something here pretty soon.
Just say yes.
No doubt. Yeah.
Thank you, man.
I've learned that lesson. Yeah, she gets to pick the house.
Thank you, Scott.
I just said I want to stay close to campus. That's the only thing that matters.
Good luck. We really do. Wish you the best. Scott Frost, that's a tough-nosed guy. Done a great job where he was. And then now at Georgia Tech in the ACC, the Ramblin' Wreck, and Scott Frost is their men's basketball coach.
They have a fantastic history. They've been kind of just caught in this little, lull for a little while there. And they do. I remember going to a game in college and of course, Georgia Tech was really good back then, but they brought people to Tallahassee. We chose to believe that basketball was just a break from studying. That's what it was at that time. It wasn't very good, but Georgia Tech was, they were so enthusiastic about it, and they're big time into all their sports there. Football is a big deal. Baseball is always going to be a big deal there. When I first Googled to make sure I was thinking of the right guys, the list that came up, because it kind of auto-filled, was baseball players, and they have Jason Varitek and Nomar Garcia-Parra and Mark Teixeira and all these other guys that played at Georgia Tech. And then you look at the basketball roster, Mark Price, I can't tell you, and maybe it's just as I've gotten older and watched more and more basketball, the appreciation I have for a guy who, if he missed a free throw, I'm thinking something scientific happened with the rim, like there was something on it.
Yeah.
Like it just – what
was he, like a 90 something?
Like a moth hit the ball and just put it, pushed it to that micro thing that's going to hit the rim. I don't know, because he was so good at shooting free throws, and I watch people shoot them now, and I'm like, didn't you guys have a backyard? Like, why is this so hard for you? They're free throws. They're points. Points means all these things. If you can score points, everybody's going to notice you more. And the guys just don't care as much.
90.4 free throw percentage, and obviously a hell of a player in the NBA and also in college. When we come back, Craig Smoak Off the Radar. Thanks to Liz Ryan for setting that up for us, Georgia Tech Media Relations for men's basketball. This is 365 Sports. QC Kinetics. They have given me the opportunity to feel better every day after feeling just like, God, can this ever stop? The pain in my lower back and my right hip. Back in September, went and saw them, had a free consultation with them. I've had 4 treatments with them in Dallas, and you will see soon the numbers, both in Dallas and Houston, for you to call if you need it, the free consultation. Do you have joint pain, elbows, shoulders, knees, ankles, your back, where it might be, your neck, and you've had steroid shots and injections over and over, and they work and then they don't. Not very long. And then all of a sudden there's now chatter about, well, we might just need to have surgery. Before you make that call or even think about it, contact QC Kinetics. They use your natural biologics. I was mentioning this to the couple of guys in the gym, in the locker room, just a day or two ago. And they were like, so you're using your own everything to help yourself? Yeah, that's what they do. They take your blood, your platelets, your stem cells, your body, your natural biologics, take it out, spin it, and put it back in you. And I'm telling you right now, it feels amazing to feel better. I do. I'm telling you right now, I do. QC Kinetics in Dallas and Houston, the numbers to call, 972-972-8610 and 713-913-5285. I kept waiting. Can anything help? And I even started to wonder maybe it will be surgery. And then I found and spoke and now getting treated and feeling great thanks to QC Kinetics at QCkinetics.com.
Petty Clinic Men's Healthcare in Woodway is now proud to offer you men an exceptional weight management body sculpting product called semaglutide, also known as Ozempic or Wegovy. Semaglutide is an FDA-approved weight management medication. Once-a-week injections of this powerful medication offers an average body fat weight loss of 20% within the first year of treatment. In addition to body sculpting, semaglutide also normalizes blood sugars and has the clinical research proof of reducing blood pressure, cholesterol, stroke, and heart attack risk. If you're like most men and you have stubborn fat that will just not respond to typical diets and exercise, then help is finally here. Semaglutide. Affordable, highly effective. Google search Petty Clinic Waco and reach out to the Petty Clinic team today for a free consultation with Dr. Petty to see if semaglutide is right for you. Go to pettycliniclowt.com.
Whatever it is you wrangle, whatever seeds you sow, no matter what you nurture or what you choose to grow, at Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, we're proud to protect all Texans.
When you play hard, sometimes you fall hard. Sports injuries require special treatment. At Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, our team of expert doctors provides athletes and active adults with comprehensive sports medicine care, diagnostics. Whether you're in high school, college, or beyond, we'll help you get back on the field. Call on the team physicians for Baylor Athletics. Call Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics.
I pitched in the major leagues for 24 years, and let me tell you, I can feel it in my joints. Shoulders, elbows, and knees. Trust me, pain doesn't retire when you do. I tried everything to get rid of the pain. Nothing worked until QC Kinetics.
Baseball legend Roger Clemens and other patients are getting lasting relief with QC Kinetics regenerative treatments. No surgery.
I trust QC Kinetics. You should too. Let's commit to getting rid of all the pain.
Schedule your free consultation today. QC Kinetics. Better starts here.
From the TFNB Your Bank for Life studio, this is 365 Sports. Presented by IdealMRI.com. Premium quality MRIs, convenient, affordable. That's Ideal. And by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance. We are Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, your insurance provider built by Texans for Texans. And we've been protecting families in our great state since 1952. TFNB, your bank for life, serving Central Texans since 1889. Now it's time for 365 Sports. It's time for Craig Smoak's Off the Radar.
Welcome back. Welcome into 365 Sports, and time to talk about a few things that are off the radar. But before I get into that, I do want to make a correction on what I said about Chandler Morris. He hasn't yet played at 6 schools, and if he were to go to another school, it'd only be his 5th. So I just wanted to make sure we got that right. I see a lot of Virginia fans that are of the belief that if he does get cleared, he will be back in Virginia, despite the fact they picked up Perbula and Holstein. So I take them at their word because they're following it closer than I am. But yeah, I said 5 schools. And so a next one, if he had to transfer again, would be his 6th. I was wrong. I was off by 1. So he's been at 4. And if Virginia didn't have room, he would be going to his 5th. That's if he gets an extra year. But that's me just cleaning up after myself and getting something right. So there you go with that. But now let's get into some stories that are off the radar and a little bit more off the beaten path. And let's start with a guy who we talked a lot about when he was a college star at BYU and who has now become an NFL star and as of yesterday has now become a new rehab patient. Puka Nacua, former BYU wide receiver and current LA Rams star. News coming out yesterday after a string of just controversies and incidents and just him getting involved in a whole lot of messiness, whether it's him at fault or whatever the reason he may be. It's come to the point where now Puka Nacua has checked himself into rehab, according to his attorney yesterday. His attorney telling the California Post he was in rehab a substantial period of time before any of his most recent allegations broke, which I will get to in a moment. And he's scheduled to be there for a while longer. He said that Nacua will be in rehab in an attempt to improve his behavior in every aspect of his life. And just so you know, football fans, he'll still be involved in all the Rams OTAs. Like they included that part of like, don't worry, he'll be involved in all the Rams OTAs. So he is trying to better himself. And if you're wondering, like, what does this all stem from? I feel like I've seen Puka Nacua's name all the time recently. Like, why is he constantly in the news? Well, the best timeline I could kind of put together was he was on a live stream with a very popular streamer named Aiden Ross back in December. And on that live stream, Ross convinced him to do a gesture that turned out to be an anti-Semitic gesture and asked him to use it as a touchdown celebration. And Nacua, once this kind of popped off of like, dude, that's anti-Semitic, he apologized, said he had no knowledge that it was that way in nature. But during that live stream, he also criticized NFL game officials. He criticized them a lot. And then that resulted in a $25,000 fine. So prior to the live stream, he had also tried to bring said streamer into the Rams practice facility, of which they said, no, not going to happen. Sean McVay denied entry. So there was just that. Then there was New Year's. So all in the same time period here, a woman claims during a dinner that he shouted an anti-Semitic slur. And she described it as the first act in what became an escalating course of rude or vulgar, threatening, violent, and harassing conduct. And that while leaving in a Sprinter van, Nacua allegedly bit her, leaving a visible mark. She went to police the following day and filed an incident report. And there's now an ongoing lawsuit where they allege that Nacua bit her and a friend that same night. Then there was Super Bowl video showing him in the streets just off his ass, screwed up on whatever he was doing that night. He's just all over the place. He's dancing. He's messy. And then you now arrive at this point where there's lawsuits. There's obviously a lot of partying going on. There's controversy. And here we are. He's entering rehab.
And, I mean, this was his brother, but remember his brother got in somebody else's car that was the same and drove off with it.
His brother stole a car,
Yeah.
is how it was titled. Yes, and that happened all in the last few months as well.
Yeah.
And I don't remember what happened as far as the end game of that, but yes, one of his brothers was
another professional athlete. I can't remember who it was.
Yeah,
another LA professional athlete that they said, well, I thought it was Puka's car because we came down at the same time. He has the same one. And I'm not sure how much that was believed.
Yeah, his brother Samson was arrested in December. All this, like a lot of stuff was popping off in December for Puka and his brother. But Samson Nakua allegedly stole an SUV belonging to Lakers Ford Adu Tiero, and sorry if I butchered that. They said it was an honest mistake as he believed the car was his brother's because they were similar models and there were no charges for that.
Yeah. So it's been a wild few months. And wild, that's not the right word. Pretty tragic few months for Puka Nakua. He said CTE wasn't real on the live stream, all these other things that kind of leads you to believe that this guy's not making great decisions.
He's being a little rambunctious and a little bit.
Yeah. And so when you say CTE isn't real and you walk to a game where a bunch of old players are going to be there and they have friends that have it, that's not a good decision. It's not good for the locker room. It's trying to bring people in there that the team and the coaches want in there is not good. And then New Year's Eve, when you get so drunk that you're yelling out racial epithets and slurs and biting people, that means you need to be in rehab.
I don't know if it's real or not, but have you seen the picture of the alleged bite?
Yeah, it's very clear.
Looks like a shark
it
bite.
looks like a dental impression is what it looks like. And somebody actually showed a picture that I saw of him smiling and compared it to that. And you can't get a great grasp, but it kind of looks like it was. But it looks like a dental impression in the mold that they give you at the office there.
There is no separation. It's
I don't think that will be hard to prove. But there's been these accusations and lawsuits, and it's been messy. So now Puka has checked himself into rehab, and of course, ESPN and various outlets in LA especially are going to cover this. There's so much NFL coverage from just a lawsuit standpoint, but also from a football standpoint. I mentioned don't worry, he'll be there for OTAs. Got to get our priorities straight. But what's also very interesting from the football standpoint is this is a guy who's got a contract extension just waiting there for him to sign here pretty soon that would put him in the upper stratosphere of highest paid wide receiver in the NFL, and this is all happening before he puts pen to paper. So now what he's jeopardizing is he's still so talented that if he cleans himself up, he'll be fine. He'll go be a superstar for many years to come. But he is exhibiting behavior that makes you go, this could turn out really bad if somebody doesn't corral this here pretty soon. So I hope rehab works for Puka. I don't know. I have these moments where things happen. I think people probably do. And you find it as odd. It's like Brett Yormark talking about Cody Campbell that I mentioned earlier. At the time, it struck me as odd. And now arrive 10 months later and you're like, yeah, they never got along. When I asked Kalani Sitake one time about Puka, he's like, what's it like to have a guy like that representing your brand and everything? And he gave an answer, and it wasn't a bad answer. And he means I was just like, oh, I was kind of let down by that. I thought he would be much more glowing and much more just kind of warm about it. And it wasn't cold. It was just, I don't know. Maybe I expected too much, but I just sort of found it odd. And so maybe that means nothing here, but it does make me wonder of how much of a headache was this kid in Provo, and how much is yeah, it's great. He's great. But you also know that he can embarrass you at any second, and clearly we've arrived at that point.
On the CTE thing, this is a guy that plays reckless. And I mean that in a positive way. It's a guy that he is fearless on the football field. So hopefully that doesn't come back to bite him in the ass, because I wouldn't be surprised if he's already not had a couple of concussions early on in his career.
It would explain some of his behavior. It would at least explain some of that. I'd rather that be concussion related than just be natural, because that would be a lot more concerning. So I'm surprised that he pivots away from that, and surprised at how many people have been bringing that up here of late. It's been very interesting to see some people just publicly going to bat for that all being made up and everything. And I know there's a lot of science and everything. I'm of the opinion that, your head bouncing around is not a good thing just in general. I don't know like what's really real and like 100% certifiable that CTE means this exactly or that exactly or whatever. I just know that it can't be healthy to play football for a really long extended period of time, no matter what you think about anything. Like it does hurt your brain to some extent. Now, does that excuse behavior? Does that cause behavior? Like, I don't know, but I can't imagine that it helps in any way. So if he had said CTE and it could explain some of his behavior, that would make a lot of sense. Without it, you're just like, so you're just an idiot then, basically, is what you're telling me with some of the way that you're acting right now, or just very immature and childish. So he's got to grow up. He's got a lot of money at stake that I'm sure is going to feed the entire family for what you hope is generations to come. And he can earn that. But he doesn't have a lot of room
to
to
the second contract.
Yeah,
right now it's sitting out there. So
yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. It's like he's coming up on it.
Yeah.
Like that's what the whole debate is like, dude, you're not only doing this and kind of wrecking what's a superstar career, but that contract's right around the corner, and you are putting that in somewhat danger if you don't get your act together. So I hope that this is something that can help him get back on track and out of the TMZ sheets and the lawsuits and all the things that have been coming his way, or he's not going to learn his lesson and it's going to turn into a tragic story of what if, or even worse. And so I hope for his sake that's not the case. But there you go. Puka Nacua in rehab and trying to get better in every way possible, according to his representatives.
I did not know that before BYU he played at Washington.
Yeah, he transferred.
I don't know
into
why
BYU.
I didn't know that. I just did. Yeah. Okay.
He's eligible to sign his contract extension right now. Like, so you bring up this like that's what he should be signing like right now, and instead he's checking into rehab. So that's the big crossroads that he's at.
He's been the best wide receiver in the league for his first couple of years.
For
He's
sure,
been the best. I mean, he's been absolutely the best, and out of nowhere. So
200. He has 313 catches in 3 years.
Yeah, it's
almost 4,200. Oh,
he's been incredible.
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
And you take into account probably how much of that is like half hung over too. I mean, seriously, maybe he stays sober throughout the season. I don't know, but like, regardless, he is a phenomenal player, and he is one of the best players in the NFL right now, regardless of position. And you just hope he's not one of those guys that throws it all away.
I hope that he has a Chris Carter like bounce back. Chris Carter almost ended his career because of substance abuse, and then became the Hall of Famer that all he does is catch touchdowns, Chris Carter. So it's good that he's addressing it, and he's addressing it early.
Yeah.
He's very young, so this could have dragged on for 10 more years in his life before he got help with it. And so hopefully, and I know just from my family experience and all that it doesn't always take the first time. So you kind of have to stick with it. And I'm not one to speak on it from personal experience that happened to me, but you just got to be committed to it. It can't change until he wants it to.
Yeah, and I'll give you a quote from Sean McVay because, like I said, he's eligible for a new contract extension. Jackson Smith and Jigba, if you remember, the Seahawks just signed the richest deal in NFL history for a wide receiver. And if there was anybody that could top that, it would be Puka Nacua. So that's what he's playing around with here. And Sean McVay was asked about Puka, and he said the play on the field is amazing, and then with what the play is dictated and determined, there's a responsibility in terms of representing all things, not exclusive to just that. He knows that. Those are the expectations, and we're hopeful that that'll be something that this will be an opportunity for him to learn and grow, and we are hopeful that he's a Ram for a really long time, but he understands what the responsibility is, not exclusive to just production on the field. And when the Rams GM Les Snead was asked from the ESPN article on whether he was hesitant to sign a significant contract extension, he commented, "Right now we're just focused on the human being, and then we'll get to that step. We'll let him continue becoming." So
only Justin Jefferson, Michael Thomas, and Amon St. Brown have more catches in 3 years than he does in NFL history.
Yeah, anybody who watches the NFL knows he's really good. Yeah. Like, I mean, it's
I knew he was good, but that's even more. I don't do the fantasy football, but I didn't realize he was compiling those.
No, he's one of the best players in all of football, regardless of position, as I said earlier. So, there's Puka Nacua and trying to get his life back on track, and we hope that he does so that he can be the best version of himself for himself and for his family and not screw up a generational opportunity here. Meanwhile, the Masters are getting underway here in the next few days, and a couple of big names will not be a part of it. And one is not a surprise because we talked about him in the last couple of Off the Radars, and that is Tiger Woods, obviously, he's checked himself into this rehab talk here. He's checked himself into rehab, so he is not going to be involved.
He's flying over the country.
He's going international to get away entirely. But more body cam footage has come out, and so Tiger needs to get clean. I was going to ask just if you'd seen the body cam and all that.
He's effed up.
The body cam, he walked off and called President Trump in the middle of this.
Who's he dating?
He was looking for a pardon.
It's Eric's ex-wife.
Okay, so she's not like Trump blood. She's like the ex-wife of the Trump.
She's Eric Trump's ex-wife.
Okay.
And then the granddaughter, he's essentially her golf coach. Like,
all right. Okay.
Kai Trump, who's really quite good at golf. And but Tiger in the back of the cruiser is very damning video. I mean, if I was on, and this is not going to go to a jury trial in any way, what shape or form, but if it did go that far and anyone's on this jury, they're like, well, I mean, what are we talking about here? Like, he's at least at best he was driving sleepy, which is also, guess what, a crime.
And that was kind of what it was excuse last time was. I was really tired.
So I hope for Tiger's sake that he does. And I actually think, of course, he has the financial means to do it, but there are other countries that are better at this than we are. It's really hard to find really good rehab places for, particularly for painkillers and things like that in America right now. So yeah, they've got different techniques over there that they use that we don't. So I do think that hopefully that will work and work quickly for him, as quickly as recovery can be.
Yeah, I mean, that's different for everybody. Yeah. And as we talked about a second ago, it doesn't work every time for everybody. And some people, it never works. So hopefully for Tiger's sake and his family's sake, much like with Puka, hopefully he gets his act together, because he's already had a couple strikes now, and he can't afford for this to continue on. So he will not be a part of the Masters, but I was wondering if y'all had seen the body cam. It's pretty clear what was going on there. Meanwhile, Phil Mickelson also announcing today he will not play in the Masters next week and will miss an extended period as his family continues to, quote, navigate a personal health matter. First time since 94 that neither Mickelson or Woods will be in pursuit of a green jacket, or the first time since 94 they both missed the first major of the season, and also not part of obviously chasing a green jacket. So yeah, Mickelson 55 put out on social media, unfortunately I'll not play in the Masters tournament next week. We'll be out for an extended period of time as my family continues to navigate a personal health matter. I have great respect for Augusta National Golf Club, and it's definitely the most special week of the year. I wish everyone the best of luck, and we'll be watching.
8 green jackets. Tiger with 5, Phil with 3 are no-show because of various reasons, and that sucks. They weren't going to win it. Neither one of them would win the Masters. Not now, but it's still to kind of have them around is pretty cool.
Yep. So no Phil or Tiger, and that is definitely going to make for a much different Masters than we're accustomed to. And yeah, I'll leave it there. There's a few things off the radar.
All right. We will do that when we come back. We'll break right here. Thank you, Craig. We'll break right here. And I got a few more stories, including a note about Fernando Mendoza. And here we mentioned Signetti earlier, but Fernando Mendoza put on quite the show, and what Louis Riddick said about him. And then a couple of images from Indianapolis that really brought back memories to me of being there in 2021 with those who we follow and their pictures of various things around that city. This is 365 Sports. It's time to compete against yourself, finding too many excuses not to work out combined with bad eating habits, and Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness can help reach inside your competitive soul. Discipline, getting results you've only dreamed about, personal training, group exercise classes, and even a tanning bed, world-class tennis facility, and pickleball courts and lessons available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, spacious, clean workout rooms, free weights, state-of-the-art technology, weight training equipment, and no intimidation. It's time for you to react today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
If I had somebody that was looking for a car, I would definitely recommend Allen Samuels. The trust that I have, the care that they take, they genuinely want to take care of you. They really ask for your feedback when you go to the support department to make sure they're taking care of you in every way possible. So I really appreciate that they listen to your feedback.
Like Allen Samuels always said, Waco has a lot to offer, and so do we at Allen Samuels Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. Come by, let's be friends.
This 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Financial Advisors, Ben Erlinson and Brad Wilson in Waco, and Cam Heathcott in Conroe, with an individualized approach to addressing your financial needs, including education, savings, planning for retirement, and protection strategies. Edward Jones Financial Advisors, making sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Now it's time for 365 Sports.
Got a couple of the notes we'll get to here momentarily, but Craig, you got an update on your Chandler Morris and he testified today against the NCAA.
Yeah, I mean, this is a good spot to have like the breaking news, as much as we've talked about the Chandler Morris case. But there has been a ruling that has come down, and according to Jackie Franciulli, hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, from it looks like 247 Wahoo's 247. She says that in some breaking news, a judge has denied the preliminary injunction for Virginia quarterback Chandler Morris, which denies him a 7th year of eligibility. I have obviously made my feelings very clear on this. I'm glad to see that. Nothing personal against Chandler Morris, but this is more about team college football sanity for me at least. And I think they made the right call based on everything that I had read. And so there you go. There's the verdict there. So Virginia will roll with Perbula or Holstein. I'd say Perbula. And Chandler Morris will, I guess, prepare for life after college football, whatever that looks like.
All right, good. That good. Either way, it wouldn't have bothered me, but at some point you got to start seeing these careers not come to an end, but we know, we've discussed it. Fernando Mendoza yesterday at Indiana's Pro Day put on what was apparently an amazing show. And yeah, you're throwing against air, but Louis Riddick of ESPN, this TV today, never saw a quarterback during his Pro Day call out each receiver by name and announce what the route would be before he ran it during the entire workout, like Mendoza did. Every route, wide receivers, tight ends, running backs, seems insignificant, but it's not. It was his show. In collaboration with his pass catchers, a certain GM was paying attention and noticed one that is going to pick him. Everything matters.
Yeah, I'm wondering how many people go to that knowing he's going to be the first overall pick going, I just kind of want to see it just in case maybe one day we get a chance to get him, he's available or whatever. I can have this in my memory bank. But John Spytek's the guy who's going to run up that card and draft Fernando Mendoza with the number on overall pick here in 3 weeks. So yeah, I try not to get too into the draft next. Like, oh my gosh, this is an incredible pro day. I call it my Jamarcus Russell quotient.
Yeah.
Where after Jamarcus Russell's pro day, I mean, everybody's like, this is the most unbelievable thing I've ever seen. Holy cow, I'm surprised he can't leap tall buildings in a single bound. And then, all right, well, he did great against air. So,
yep. So that's Louis Riddick. I like Louis Riddick and a lot of what he says. I always don't agree with him all the time, but I thought that was pretty cool. And I watched it on TV yesterday during a late replay.
I mean, I would really hope that the number 1 overall pick since the draft speculations started this offseason and the national champion 16-0 Heisman Trophy winning quarterback had a good pro day. And so it sounds as though he passed his final test to what degree and he needed to. I think he was already locked in what he was going to be. But yeah, he just continues to impress with everything that he does. And if he doesn't work out at the next level, then fold the Raiders at this point, because so many guys have rolled through there to find little to no success.
Well, you mentioned Jamarcus Russell. Where did he go?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. We could create a really long list if you wanted to. We could do an hour podcast on it if you wanted to. So for that, I worry for him. Although maybe with Tom Brady more in charge, it's a different Raiders, and he won't be in and out like so many others high draft picks have been over the years. I think he's got a really good head on his shoulders. Obviously, he's a hell of a player, a bit of a quirky dude that is easily likable and a fun interview to listen to. And there's just not any negatives with him that I see outside of maybe something in his game that the pros will, I guess, pester him about or try to correct. But I mean, from all indications, he seems to be about as safe of a prospect as you could want for a franchise quarterback, and looking forward to seeing if he can be the guy that actually brings the Raiders some wins and some relevancy, not just being the kind of joke, but being a team that can really go out there and accomplish some things.
And then there's a view that I remember when I went to Indianapolis in 2021 to watch the NCAA tournament and cover it, and was there for God knows how many days. This is outside the JW Marriott. This is so cool. The entire bracket is on their front part of the hotel. This is a monstrous hotel and a monstrous bracket of everything that's happened. But I was there when they first started, remember, because everything started and ended in Indianapolis. But this is so cool. This is from our friend Amanda Kristovich, as she's there. You almost have to sit there and look at that. It's like looking at the, I don't know, something that's pretty awesome. And there's what it looks like outside the JW Marriott.
Yeah, it's great. We actually we didn't get to stay at the JW when we went there to cover the Super Bowl. That was the year that it opened.
Mm-hmm.
We stayed at the, what was it? The
Spring Hill Suites.
Spring Hill, whatever it was.
Well, right behind there's a Spring Hill Suites and a Hampton Inn. I stayed at the Spring Hill Suites. They gave me a larger place because I was going to be broadcasting.
Or maybe
every
we were
day.
at the Courtyard. We were at the
Might have
Courtyard
been,
or something like that. But
yeah.
we were one of the Marriott properties there. I know because when I recently had to like change over my Bonvoy points, that was like one of the first places I started getting them years and years ago, just from the room service I got on the night of the Super Bowl, where I didn't have the walk around pass like we thought I was going to get. So that
was the first one we traveled, because the first one was in Arlington.
Yeah.
And then of course Indianapolis.
Yeah, but Indy's a perfect city for this. If people say that there should be a city like the Rose Bowl should always host the national championship, I would say that if you're going to do that, then Indy should always host the Final Four.
If there was one city to do it, I would not disagree. They did a great job in 21 too. And then there's this picture, Arizona, as they were about to practice inside Lucas Oil Stadium, of course, a part of the Final Four. Little note from Arizona basketball and athletics is the Tommy Lloyd and the Wildcats will play in the Final Four on Saturday.
Yeah, the Tar Heels have the Wildcats have a did you see the latest quote?
Yeah, I did.
Tommy Lloyd on UNC rumors. I mean, this is no different than what he's been saying, but you can see why Arizona fans, with every day that goes by, these quotes seem more ominous. And maybe it turns out to be absolutely nothing, like Kalani Sitake and the whole pursuit with Penn State and everything. Now, there was something to that. It's just that ultimately it became nothing. He signed a new deal and he stuck around for a while, or will stick around for a while. And maybe that's what happens here with Tommy Lloyd in Arizona. But if you want to read between the lines, it's really easy to do so. If you want to be a North Carolina fan thinking that he's coming your way, it's really easy to think that. His quote was, "I'm a simple guy. I got my full focus on this team. Nothing is distracting me. I'm a simple guy, one thing at a time. I'm not a multitasker. I'm 100% locked in on Arizona basketball. This team deserves my full attention, and that's what I'm giving them." So he's not thinking about North Carolina because he's solely focused on Arizona, which he said in so many words, but I'm not a multitasker, and all of that is not assuaging the fears of Zona fans who can't help but have this be a distraction this week. I hope it works out for them, but
I think he's the number one fallback option.
If they blow a tire and they look lethargic and they don't play well, no matter what, and he ends up leaving, that's what they're going to go back to.
I think as soon as Billy Donovan, if he says no, I don't know if he's going to. I I personally think that right now North Carolina is a far better job than the Bulls, because the Bulls are in 30 years of going nowhere.
Yeah, but the NBA, man,
It's
like
still the NBA.
You don't have to do much though to stick around for a while.
No.
I mean, like, and make a lot of freaking money.
Yeah. I get that whole part of it too. But eventually, you do kind of want to win again. I mean, like that's what to me would be Billy Donovan. Like, I want to go somewhere where
he's been gone a long time,
actively trying to help me win, which is not what you can say for the Bulls.
Dusty May, by the way, his name's come up too. I just saw this from the field of 68. I'm not going to comment on any job that's not mine. I'm incredibly happy, honored, and blessed to be the coach of Michigan in the Final Four.
Michigan and Arizona both have a title apiece. Both titles were 25 plus years ago. I mean, in the case of Michigan, it was back in the final year of the 1980s, I believe. It was 1989 when they won their title.
Yes.
And then 97 for Arizona. So they're in a similar situation. They're both very proud, very well-accomplished programs. They're not North Carolina, although I think both have the ability to be at that top level. So you can see why North Carolina is appealing, because it is one of the handful of jobs. It's like Ohio State or Alabama or Texas coming open in football. Like, you at least listen. No matter where you are, you at least listen to it, and you damn sure leverage it as much as you possibly can. So I think everybody involved is doing that to some extent. But at the end of the day, somebody's going to have to be the head coach of North Carolina.
Yeah.
And is it one of these two guys, or is it Billy Donovan making this triumphant return to go deal with NIL all the time? And like, that's where I could see, the Bulls thing is ran its course. Everybody's ready for a change there. I think. But he could also just stick around in the NBA at another job too. So don't know where his head's at. He's the wild card, man, because he would be what appears to be option number one.
He also didn't say, like, he's answered the question exactly as the other two have.
They're all smart.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure their agents told them all the same thing. Like, don't say no, don't say yes. Just say you're focused on what you're doing, and they're all giving stock answers, and that's what you should expect in any situations like this. I think Arizona fans have a great opportunity this weekend, but I do hate for them, and I guess now also Michigan, that they're going to have to kind of do it with one side eye going on the entire time. And then, if they lose and it looks ugly, then that will be the first thing everybody turns to is, well, Tommy or Dusty, they were negotiating with North Carolina or whatever the case may be.
Well,
I envy the position, because either way, those guys are getting super rich and already were, but are now about to get even more so. But I also don't envy trying to handle all that in the midst of preparing for a pretty hellacious Final Four.
We have experienced 2 bowl games in which a team was distracted, and both of them were no-shows.
Both of them were from coaching rumors as well.
Both of them were from coaching rumors. Baylor, Briles, and UT at the Fiesta Bowl, and UCF pummeled them. And the other one was Matt Rule against Georgia, better team, at the Sugar Bowl. And even said on the day he announced he was going to Carolina on our show, he said, I will always regret the way that went down. It was a distraction, and you knew it was.
It was. I don't know, distraction or no distraction. That was the Georgia team before.
No, you're right.
That was when they were like starting to come out of the cocoon.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
but it just ruined the entire experience.
Yeah.
Because the entire week you're in New Orleans and you're trying to enjoy yourself, and you are enjoying yourself. But when it comes to the reason why you're there, for the football, for at that point Baylor having come back from scandal and him leading them to
the Sugar Bowl
against Georgia, who's about to just go launch with Kirby Smart. That was like the year before they started their natty runs, I think.
It was.
Yeah, so like that, they were on the precipice of becoming Georgia. The whole week was every day rumor mill. What are the national radio people saying? What's the latest from the NFL? You thought it was the Jets. Little did we know he was talking to the Panthers apparently as well, and who knows who else. The entire week was marred by that. The entire week of the Fiesta Bowl with Briles, this biggest bowl game they've ever been to in however many decades it had been. And here's UCF, and I don't think it helped at that time that they were not respecting UCF in any way, shape, or form. They were not taking, I don't think, UCF seriously enough. And on top of that, you have the entire week being a discussion about Briles going to Texas, to the point where the Austin American-Statesman has actually sent a reporter to Phoenix to cover Art Briles becoming the Texas head coach as he coaches Baylor's last game. And that dude was there for the entire week. That's how distracting it was. He's walking around the team hotel looking for questions to ask about Browse going to Texas. So it sucks. We've lived it twice. It sucks, and it does ruin the experience. So I hope for Arizona fans that won't be the case, but it'll be hard to not be the case.
Illinois seems to be locked in. We just talked to Scott Cross about Brad Underwood. Here's a scene. This is just a quick photo. Inside Illinois' men's basketball locker room, media contingent. This is an amazing event, amazing coverage, great access, and there you are. Just cameras and everything all over the place. Now, one more thing, and then Bill Self. Yesterday, that story that he's or April 1st, that story that yesterday, that he's coming back for another year. We discussed it, but we didn't say a lot about it because of time. Craig, your thoughts, Paul, yours, and then we'll wrap it up with a couple more things.
I'm glad that it ends the speculation for at least a few months. I know we'll probably do this again next year, especially if they struggle, and that will be Bill Self will be the coaching Cam Rising, where we just every year go, is this the year? Is this the year? Is this the year? But overall, whether it's the last year or the first of what will be 10 more years at Kansas, it's great for Kansas basketball. It's great for, beyond that, Kansas athletics. It's great for, as a whole, the Big 12 and the basketball environment in that league. And I think they would be fine if Bill Self left because it's Kansas. It would be like North Carolina opening up. But he's a winner, and I'm glad to see that one of the best coaches in the country is going to stick around, and we get to watch a lot more of him going up against Arizona and Texas Tech and whoever else over the next, hopefully, coming years. But, yeah, I think it's going to be a year-by-year thing with him.
Yeah, he said as much a couple of, I think, last year at the end of the year and said, I used to think about this in 8-year, I'm going to do 8 years, I'll think about it. And now he said I think about it in 2-year intervals. So right now, if he said it last year, we're at the end of that 2-year interval. So after this year, we started another 2-year interval, and we'll see. It's made everything much nicer in my house just because we're not going to have to deal with the sorrow of him leaving and the wondering about it. I also think it's great for Kansas that they are not looking for a basketball coach the same time North Carolina is. Yeah. Whether they would fish in the same pond or not, or if they just go the John Shire route and hire Jacques Vaughn, who's on the staff, and a lot of people think that he might be the heir apparent, although I don't think anybody's totally sure about that. But I think not having to have that stress of, oh my God, North Carolina's open. We want Tommy Lloyd. They want Tommy Lloyd. We want this guy. They want this guy. I think that's good for the fan base too. There'll be another job open the same year, but it probably likely won't be one of the other ones that are in that fraternity with Kansas of these are the jobs that you have to at least take the phone call from. And whoever gets the job after Bill Self is going to be set up in a good spot. And we'll see. I don't know if they'll, what they'll be next year. I think they'll be at least what they were this year. And I think that he's figured out how to find Bill Self guys in the portal, which is an important thing.
I think that he has shown some maturity. Not a great coach, but I just like the way he handles things. I think he realizes he's the king poobah in many ways, and his answers reflect that. Real quick, Baylor, Oklahoma men's basketball on Saturday, as the Bears last night beat Minnesota. This is that Crown Championship in Las Vegas, 8 teams down to 4, and an old Big 12 rematch between the Bears and Oklahoma on Saturday afternoon at 12:30. And then there is the trip to the moon and back. Artemis, here are a couple of images. This is one from the spaceship. There's the Earth. Is it flat, Paul? Craig, is it flat?
No.
Never was.
Never was. This is the one that Jennifer took on the Apollo or Artemis of what she saw.
Who?
Your daughter, your sister, I mean. She thinks, remember, Paul, she thinks the Earth is flat. Remember we asked her that question? She's not happy about me bringing this up, but
I wouldn't be either. I would be embarrassed to be outed as a flat Earth truther.
Who was the athlete that said this? There was an athlete that said he thought
Earth was not Kawhi Leonard. It was Kyrie Irving.
I'm surprised it wasn't Puka Nacua, honestly.
There
you go. All right, so there we are with that.
I have a solution for the flat Earth truthers. I think all these billionaires that have their weirdly shaped rocket ships should all get together and agree. We're going to take the top 100 online flat Earth truthers who talk about it the most. We're going to give them a free flight in our ship and we're going to let you watch it when they get up there and go, oh, shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty cool. I'm a space fan. I'm not a nerd where I follow it all the time, but monumental occasions like this, there's something patriotic about it. And there is something very just cool as a human being. Forget allegiances and borders and things. Just as a human being, we are tiny little specks, and it's cool to see us going out and exploring the universe. So glad it was successful. I know there were some hiccups along the way, but look forward to seeing what they deliver as far as what they return information-wise and whatnot over the coming years. And I've really been interested in James Webb Space Telescope and the images that have been coming out from that over the last 2-3 years. It's been fascinating. So I look forward to seeing what this can bring about scientifically as well, and let us learn a bit more about what's outside of our little planet here. But yeah, you totally lost me with the Jennifer thing. I think that's super inside. I just didn't know what you were referring to.
Yeah,
so
I figured we had her on.
I don't think
one
anybody
time.
did.
We had
Yeah.
her on one time about it, and she told me just now in a text message, it better not be what I think it's about. And so I guess I'll lose any privileges to see Gracie Lynn anytime soon. All right. Thank you for all of what you've seen and been with us today. We're not done, because right now it's time for Paul Catalina and the Top 5.
This is Paul Catalina's Top 5.
Welcome into the Top 5, brought to you by Flag and Anthem. Go to flagandanthem.com. Use our promo code 365sports for a discount at checkout. Today, we're talking best team offensive line upgrades. Number 5. And if you're not an SEC fan, sorry, this segment's really not going to be for you. But I did a lot of research on this, and I could only squeeze in one non-SEC team. So number 5 is Texas A&M. They have added to an offensive line that did lose several guys to the NFL draft, but young talent and veteran talent in Wilkin Formby from Alabama, who's pictured here, Cohen Eccles of LSU, and Tyree Adams of LSU. They have shown the ability to coalesce together as an offensive line really well. This is a coin flip between them and Texas. I think they have more returning experience, which is why, as a collective group, I gave A&M just the slight nod over Texas, who needed a lot of help along the offensive line because their run game was abysmal last year. Number 4, and probably the most surprising team in the portal overall, with all that they have done under their new head coach, is Kentucky. Getting Lance Hurd, pictured here from Tennessee, who's a beast. Also grabbing Colton Price at center from Baylor, who's a really good player, and Tegra Shabola from Ohio State. He is also going to be a nice depth piece for them and a good talent to develop. Number 3, Houston. Willie Fritz. I cannot tell you how good of a job he's done in the portal on the offensive line. And this is just on paper, but the production from the 3 main guys he got, Shadre Hurst from Tulane, who he knows well from being there before and being the head coach, Anthony Boswell from Toledo, and Drew Terrell of Miami, Ohio. Yes, he went to small schools, but these guys are on the way up, and I really, really, really like Shadre Hurst at that guard position for them. He might wind up kicking out to tackle. We'll see. I think there are some flexibility points for a lot of these guys and a lot of these teams. Number 2, Alex Golish and Auburn brought in some dudes along the front, including Cole Best from USF, who's pictured here, Jacob Strand of Oregon State, Joseph Simmons of James Madison, and Stanton Ramil of Michigan State. They are all highly rated among all the transfer prospects across all of the websites that track those sort of things. And Auburn had an okay offensive line last year. They didn't really gel, but they had a bad offense overall. In fact, most of the players outside of quarterback that have transferred out of Auburn, I think, will find better success elsewhere. Cam Coleman going to Texas, I think, is going to be a huge boon for him and the Longhorns. We'll talk about wide receiver groups in another edition of the Top 5. But Alex Golish has always been a really good offensive line recruiter and coach. He was when he was at Tennessee. He was at USF. And this is going to help Byron Brown. Remember, our number 2 quarterback upgrade yesterday, Auburn, taking huge steps to get better under Alex Golish really, really fast. And number 1 should come as no surprise to anyone that LSU has the best offensive line. Highlighted, of course, by Jordan Seaton, who's one of the best offensive linemen in the whole country, and I believe the best transfer acquisition in the entire portal, regardless of position, coming in from Colorado. As I'm saying this, Garrett is in the booth, smiling ear to ear. Ilu Ba from Maryland, Sean Tompkins of Baylor, Darren Stray of Kentucky, and Devin Harper of Ole Miss provide them offensive line depth. And look, they've got some guys that are already there that will battle it out. But Jordan Seaton solidifies the offensive line in a way that I don't think it ever was under Brian Kelly. They had some really good players, and they had some really high draft picks. But, I mean, Will Campbell being the best, and this year's Super Bowl notwithstanding, I'm a huge Will Campbell fan. But even by those standards of Will Campbell, Jordan Seaton has potential to be the number 1 pick in the draft if Lane Kiffin plays it right, and that is going to make them way better, way quicker. Again, if Lane Kiffin plays it right. That's going to do it for the top 5. Oh, that wheel. Here she comes. And here we go. If you've noticed, the topics, every time we do one, it comes out, so it's a little bit easier to read, and Andrew's going to wait until it's completely finished and then give us a new one. What's your theory on why there are so many different types of toothpastes?
Everybody's trying to get money.
Yeah.
Just trying to come up with something that's bigger, better, flashier, whiter, tastier, whatever, to get people to buy products.
Competition in the market, capitalism.
It's like detergent.
Yeah.
I think the answer is capitalism.
Capitalism. Yeah, I think so.
It's like detergent. You have a bunch of different kinds of detergent. Pretty much they're all the same. Some have little green pieces in there to make it look different or smell different or whatever, but it's pretty much the same.
And I do think it is weird that there are like a million varieties of toothpaste when they basically have 3 jobs. They have to clean your teeth, protect your gums, and strengthen the enamel. And if your toothpaste does those 3 things, then you win. And I think if it doesn't do one of those 3 things, you shouldn't put it on your teeth.
I
agreed.
There are some I like the white paste. I just want the straight white.
Are you a Crest guy, a Colgate guy?
Crest. I remember when
Crest
Colgate played Baylor in a basketball game. I went home. I said, "Which one am I using?" I think it's Crest. I like the white toothpaste that kind of a little bit of a peppermint without any kind of like colors or stuff.
Yeah,
like that.
I trust 4 out of 5 dentists because I think that 5th one's like an anti-vaxxer.
I know. All right, here we go to the quizzes now. Who am I? I'm the only athlete in history to win an NCAA Division I title, the UFC title, and a WWE championship.
It's Brock Lesnar. He's the only one to do that. Won the title at Minnesota and then got into wrestling. Went and tried to play football in the NFL for a while with the Vikings. That didn't work out. And then he's kind of been in and out of wrestling, but did have that UFC period. And I don't think he would be a champion like he was in this time period, although the heavyweight division still pretty much sucks in the UFC. So I don't know, maybe he would, but yeah, the dude's an incredible athlete and one of the just scariest kind of human beings that's been walking our popular, I guess, interest for going on 20 something years now. There's rumors that he's retiring soon because he is getting older and he's made a S ton of money. But yeah, he's an absolute freak show of an athlete.
Okay, what's the next one?
I did not know he was married to Sable.
Yeah, has been for many, many years now.
Okay.
Yeah, the former valet. Yep.
All right, next one.
If a Major League Baseball game were played on the moon, how far could a typical home run travel due to the 1/6 gravity and lack of air resistance?
I don't math, so I have no idea when you start framing questions like this with 1/8 and all that. I don't even know where to begin.
I want to say 4,000 feet.
I kind of wanted to say 10,000
Well,
feet.
it's going to be one of those two.
Yeah.
Because 800 feet is not been done. We had the Mantle thing about that the other day, but I want to say 4,000. Paul, you pick one of the. I don't like either one of those. What, teal and blue? Which one?
I'll go. You know what? I'm going to stick with you. I'm going to say 4,000. 10,000 might be too much.
All right.
Oh, there we go. Nice there.
That's KU colors, by the way, in the
On
background.
the moon, a ball hit with major league power could travel roughly 3 to 4 times farther than on Earth. A deep drive that goes 470 feet at Daikin Park would soar nearly 4,000 feet in lunar conditions. Plus, without air, you wouldn't hear the crack of the bat, and a ball could stay in the sky for over 30 seconds.
Drive into deep left orbit by Castellanos.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden it never comes down, so you can't catch it. So it's got to be a home run. No one can catch it. All right, to the poll questions and results. Which blue blood is under the most pressure? This is a good question, Andrew. Next season,
I think it's Kentucky, personally. I mean, I know why UNC with a new head coach seems like it would be the answer, but for me, that just means you've got some runway to get your bearings about you and to get the program restarted under whoever that's going to be eventually. Whereas Kentucky, they have Mark Pope on the hot seat right now. So I think he's either got to perform to a certain elite standard next year or he's gone.
He's got to perform up to the level of the roster investment.
Yeah. And then with UCLA, I mean, I don't know what is going on with Mick Cronin and all that. I don't know what they feel like about
I don't
anything.
think there's that. I think Cronin's fine. I think, he's a little hard to
I just
deal
mean
with.
I don't know what their expectations are at this point.
I would say, I don't think UNC has really a whole lot of pressure on them because they're going to have a new coach.
I think the new coach has got to win at a certain type of level away.
But I think the pressure might be a little different because they've got to give them some leeway because you can't just fire a coach after 1 year.
Yeah.
I think, and I don't think it's Bill Self that has the pressure. I think Kansas as a program, seeing as you've got very few rides left with Bill Self as the coach, has pressure to support him financially, roster-wise, in the way that they probably
Kansas is fine. Yeah. Still,
but
the worry about his future another year. That's going to be year to year.
I just think it's the pressure's on. It's not even Bill Self. He can go get whoever players that they want. It's going to be on, the collective, the university, to make sure that they don't they don't cheap out for him. Like, this is the time to.
No, they're not. The KU's going to do that if it was Bill Smith as the head coach.
I know, but just make sure that you don't.
Yeah, I think it's Kentucky too. Yeah. I do. That's who I voted for. That's what I voted for because North Carolina is going to be a first-year guy, no matter who it might be, big boy name or not. All right. Of the Final Four, which slice chain gets your pick?
I'm going to tell you what, man. Pizza's getting expensive. I mean, like everything is, I understand, but I've really noticed pizza here lately. When I used to be a weekly go-to for me, and now I hardly go get it because the prices have gotten crazy. And I was a Domino's guy for the longest time, but I just haven't loved what my receipts looked like here recently, so I've kind of not had it as much. I liked Pizza Hut. It's not convenient for me to go get Pizza Hut, whereas Domino's is convenient.
Yeah, there's a Domino's really close to you, right?
I don't know.
There's also a pizza brand that is a sponsor of the show that could have been on that list.
Yeah.
Well, that's the one I probably would have picked. That's the one I probably would have picked out of the 5 of these 4.
I don't think I can remember the last time I had Little Caesars.
Of these 4, I would say Pizza Hut is the one that's kind of our go-to.
Yeah, and I remember, I used to order a pizza or two, but Pizza Hut is just the way, that's the way I remember growing up. I think not too much. I love their thin and crispy. It's really good.
I like Papa John's better than Domino's. I haven't been to Little Caesars, and I can't even remember. I would go to Little Caesars when they had the $5 hot and readies, and I was in my 20s.
I haven't been to Little Caesars in forever and ever and ever. And then Papa John's. I mean, if Shaq wants to sponsor the show, I'll change my mind on this, but I don't like that. At least back in the day when I used to get Papa John's on a regular basis, that I'd take one bite and the entire toppings would just slide right off of the bread. I did not like that about Papa John's. So yeah, I'd say Domino's, but don't eat his pizza as much as I used to.
All right, there we go. The winner with Domino's at 39%. Isn't Pizza Hut the official pizza, or is it a different pizza for the NCAA?
I think it's Pizza Hut. I don't know.
Used to be. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you very much to Rez and also to Garrett Ross, among our sponsors, of course, as well, every single day. Thanks to our guests. Thanks to you who watch us. For Paul and Craig, back tomorrow on the eve of the Final Four for the men and the day of the Final Four for the women. I'm David Smoak. Good night.